Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Uh, we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. I thought I'd open the stream up a little early to get folks in if they have any questions and make sure the settings are all right. If you guys need me to zoom in a little further on the Pokemon, please let me know, or if this is okay. I tried to zoom in a little more. If I zoom in any more on my end, what's going to end up happening is you guys won't be able to see all six of the Pokemon on a team at one time. But yeah, please let me know if settings are okay as we get ready to get started here with to be some co-hosts to join me today. And if anyone has any predictions for their co-hosts, go ahead and you can type them now. And I plan to look at chat a little bit more this time, so to get some of your opinions when we rate your teams coming up here. And then we are going to start from group one and go to group eight. So if you are in group one, congrats, you are going to be first. If you're in group eight, sorry, it might take a little bit. And these, I'm going to give a little preference beforehand. These rankings will not 100% be accurate. They weren't last season, staff did them, so they will not be accurate this season. And it does not take in account of any player's skill or any previous results in the league. So no skill based power rankings will be here. It's based purely off of team and purely off of the opinions of the people going to be co-hosting. Jared, to ask, is it Keanu? I will say it is not going to be Keanu. Keanu is not scheduled to come visit in. There might be a few co-hosts that do come in time to time that aren't the main co-hosts, which can feel free to jump in whatever. But Keanu is not one of them, at least not to my knowledge, as they have not said anything today. And hello, SJ. You're lucky. Your group gets to go first before you go to bed. Unfortunately, you're not going to be rated first. Spoiler alert, or maybe not spoiler alert. We'll see. We'll see how the rest of the co-hosts and hosts will be joining us. And yes, this is being recorded immediately after streams end. It will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. VOD will automatically be saved. So if you would just go into click my channel name, it'll be under, you click like under live or previous live streams, and then you could see the most recent live stream, which will be this one, and you can automatically save and go back if you can't make the whole stream. This also will not take into account of any week one battles that has already happened. I know there's been a few. I have completed mine, and as well as Schmidt and had a barn burner of a match earlier. But yeah, we're going to try not to completely roast some of these teams. Obviously, all teams can work under different circumstances for different people. Just because we might not particularly agree team or think it's lacking a little bit does not mean it is necessarily a bad team. It won't work. We have seen teams last season we didn't rate highly become first and second in their leagues. I don't have these statistics fully up on me of like our rankings versus last season if somebody wants to pull out, but we did definitely have some meteoric misses last season. So just because you're ranked near the bottom doesn't mean you're going to be ranked near the bottom at the end, and just because you're ranked at the top doesn't mean you're going to be ranked at the top here. I'm just waiting for one of my other co-hosts to join. There is more than one, but I'm going to wait for at least one of them to start. And then once one of them would jump into the stream, we are going to get started here. I got to credit some of these logos are quite funny and quite fun, and I'll give some credit to some of the people who teams they are when we get there. There's quite funny names and logos this time around. I think you guys will enjoy. Now, SJ, I'm gonna kick your butt in a few days when we play in semifinals in IBPL. I'm not too nice. You're gonna go down. And objectively speaking, when we did staff rankings, I probably ranked the lowest out of everyone. And SJ, what are you putting into the doc? I know it's your group stock, but what are you putting in as a pitcher? Like it's not even your team. Oh yeah, just give me a few more minutes and we'll get started here. I just gotta wait for at least one of my co-hosts to join here. Mhm. B, we are not in the same group, so that just means we're destined for first round of playoffs again, like every other time we're not in the same group. So I'll see you first round of playoffs, because that's how it always ends up working out. So hopefully we fight eventually in playoffs, but again, requires me or you not to crash and burn, which is very much possible. Yeah, once the first co host joins, we can get started with these group run rankings for you. How it's going to work is me and a co-host are going to talk a little bit about the team, some of the Pokemon we like, don't like, some suggestions, maybe what we would like to see. And then we will go through the staff rankings. Staff has put together some rankings and average rankings of what we're going to be. And then once those, we'll compare those to what we actually rate them and move on to the team afterwards. But yeah, Psycho should be joining. They just failed to join in Discord. And just to let you know, some of these may not. I am not entitled to any of these docs that aren't updated by other staff
Hello.
members. And welcome to our first co-host. You can go ahead and introduce
Hi,
yourself.
I'm Dan. I come second place all the time,
That's right. We got the king of
and
second place
that's about
himself.
it.
We have the king of second place of this league and every league, as he just came second place again in another league yesterday. So yeah, we have the king of second place is going to be joining me for these rankings. Are you ready?
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So yeah, like just quickly, Jared, if you don't have trades or anything else that don't go in effect first or second week, they will not be shown. And if the staff has not updated the docs, it is not my fault. So we are going to first start with the first pick in group number 1, which is going to be Regice and the Texas Parasects. So the team consists of Tinglu, Latias, Alchemy, Dustfox, Orthworm, Bellybolt, Masquerain, Clefairy, Sudowoodo, Tinkatongue, and Berserker. Just let you know, if you guys need any draft stats or anything, please refer to Riddler's draft stats, as I will not be commenting on how many Pokemon are on each draft because I don't have them ready for me. So, do you want to start with any thoughts on this team?
Um, I don't really see the vision. I don't
All
want to start on a negative, but I think
right, we're starting off great, everyone. Already negative. Let's go.
I think yeah, I don't see the vision. It looks like hard trick room, but then tier one and tier two aren't really doing much damage. And then your other tier two is a redirector.
I guess Dan's going to be the harsh one. And also, we have the second co host joining if the second co host wants to introduce themselves.
Sup, it's Lucky.
Of course, we had to bring you back after last time. Do you have any after the speed tour shenanigans? Um, so,
Yeah, this
so do you want to comment on this Red Ice team here that we're going through? And yes, we have Tinglu plus Orthmoon on the same team. That is also a thing. But go ahead. Um, so yeah, my opinion, I don't really value Tinglu as a tier 1 in our format. I think it's strong Pokemon, but you need to support it correctly. And I think that while there is some pieces here, there is a lot of pieces missing. Clefairy is a great Pokemon. The problem is I don't know what it's redirecting to. Tinglu just can Earthquake and hit everything anyways, and I don't know. Keeping Tinglu protected is not really that hard with how bulky it is. Maybe you want to use it for Latias and do some Latias Alcremie things or some Trick Room things with Dusclops, but I think there's a little bit of a Trick Room redirection core, but I don't think exactly there's amazing pieces around it, would be my.
I just think I don't see where the like damage is going to come from.
I see too. I
Yeah, that
mean,
was
Like
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say that was
I,
pretty much my main criticism coming out of it too. I was wondering where the main damage sources for the team would be coming from.
I also question where it's coming from. It's not coming from Sudowoodo, I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, like I just feel like if is going about this passively, there should be at least a good setup mon, but I don't see the setup either, is the problem.
So, Dan, what would you rate this team out of 10? Putting you right on the spot.
I've actually given it. Oh, I've already ranked them all. I've given it a 5.
Giving it a 5. Okay. The
Yeah,
staff ranking for this team is an average of exactly 3. So the staff feel that this is a 3 out of 10 team. So Dan's actually above what the staff thought. So you might think the staff are a little bit harsh, but we rated this, well, not me, there's multiple staff. I rated it 3 out of 10. Strong start. So next we're going to move on to the Los Angeles Bunkers with J-Rod's team here. I know J-Rod's in the chat as well. We got Ogerpon Cornerstone, great Ogerpon choice, by the way. We have Volcarona, Palmont, Azumarill, Morgrem, my favorite Pokemon, apparently of all time, according to the amount of times I draft it, Gothorita, Flareon, Moltres Galar, Articuno Galar, Scrafty, and then Grookey. What do we think about this team?
I actually think this team's pretty good. I think it's pretty solid. It has a lot of options. I'd be pretty scared to play against this. It's got good offense. It's got mons that can set up. It's got supporting mons. So I think all in all, it's a pretty good team.
And I like Cornerstone. We're going to get into later teams, but I don't think anybody else, or maybe only one of us, has picked Cornerstone, which I think is definitely good value. I personally like Cornerstone, especially with Sturdy in this type of format. You still get the redirection, but you still also have Sturdy if you want to go more offensive. And Rock is genuinely a decent offensive typing, especially with Rock and Grass as well. So not only can you hit fire types that you can't hit for your grass stabs, you can hit Ivy Control. Volcarona is a good bond with Flame Body, and you'll see a lot of different Volcarona teams. If I had to do one big criticism, is you have obviously Gothorita, which I've done does fake out Trick Room things. What exactly in Trick Room do you want? There's nothing really amazing in Trick Room here. I guess you could argue Azumarill and Scrafty are your main Trick Room weapons, but you got a lot of versatility. My just biggest fear is if you can't prevent Trick Room with your own Gothorita, which you probably can. I mean, there is definitely options or Borgrim. You might have a little trouble against a Trick Room setup.
Yeah, I see it a little bit more as like a deterrent for trick room oriented rosters more than anything.
I think I'd agree this team is not meant to operate in Trick Room, I would say. But I think it's still got a lot of
I would say
versatility.
on that one. I think they have tailwind setters, but they don't have like priority tailwind. So if they are up against a hyper offense team, that trick room can be used to slow down and put the speed control in their favor,
Of course, I
especially
don't.
as how bulky the team is.
Yeah, that's fair. I also am just not a believer in the Galarian birds. I especially Articuno Galar. Personal opinion,
Yeah,
that
I
mod
agree with that.
sucks. No offense, everybody, that mod's trash. Um, at least Moltres Galar has something going for it. Articuno Galar is just not a good Pokemon. I'm sorry. And also, hi Squirrely in the chat. Cornerstone, yes, I agree. Only got one picked. I think it should be picked more. But if you want to
I,
go ahead and anybody else have anything on this team?
yeah, I think also one thing I noted when I was evaluating the team and my scoring was, at least as far as type charting, there was some irregularities with the type charting. Like I saw that the team had a very, very big lack of flying and poison resists, and it was also fairly weak to fairy. So, so using that roster, you want to be really careful for Terras and Pokemon that are heavily involved in that.
Mhm. I agree with that. And answering a comment, I'm not a believer in the birds. I said Galarian Articuno. I love Gyarados, and I'm okay with Golters. Just specifically Galarian Articuno, I'm just not a fan of. But All right, what did you rank this team, Dan?
I think I've gone a little bit too high on all of them, but I gave this a 7.5.
All right, so Dan made speak harsh, but he's going to be the good cop because I'm going to tell you right now, staff has been definitely more critical. Uh, Dan's gone for a 7.5. The staff average is 5.2 for this team. So 5.2, 2 points ahead of Red Jace and just slightly above average. J Rod,
I think
comment back on Lucky's comment. Bold of you to assume I use a type chart.
funny enough, I actually rated it the highest among the staff.
So Lucky was actually on your side. As Look It Up also is highly questioning Dan's expertise and having beat Dan in the finals. I don't know. But yeah, Squirrely,
That sounds right.
agreed
It's
comment.
pretty solid across the board, I think.
Squirrely with the, yeah, we destroyed these teams. Staff have no mercy. Yes, we don't have mercy. I'm not going to apologize for it. Someone's got to be reality here. I'm sorry. And then the third team we have is by, I'm going to butcher half of your usernames ahead of time. I'm going to apologize. My Tag Echo with the conquering stuff. Is that just conquering sirens? I think I can't spell.
Yeah,
We
that
have
should be
a
it.
Ursaluna Blood Moon team, so this is the first instance versus the Blood Moon. We have Sinastra. I know it's Sinastra. Sue me. Uh, Weezingala, Regigigas, Crawdon, Dust Noir, Cottony, Farigarath, Hitmontop, Monkey Dory, and Blissey. So we have a pretty heavy Trick Room team here with the classic Galar Weezing or Weezing and Regigigas combo. What do we think about this team?
I think the team is a little bit. It's got a strong trigger mode, but other than that, it's a little bit gimmicky. And like Wheezing Gigas on paper looks good, but if you're prepared for it, there's a lot of ways to shut it down. And I feel like you're always going to be going into an uphill battle when you run these sort of strategies.
I think that's
However,
a
I do also think the trick room mode is really strong, but if you're relying solely on trick room, once again, uphill battle, your opponent knows how to shut you down.
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Do you have anything else to add, Lucky, on this?
Just about the same. Yeah, it was more so about the questioning of the Weezing and Reggie Gigas combo. It does seem to be the most out of place in this team.
I mean, I'm not fully in agreement or disagreement there. I could definitely see the option. I could see there's definitely a strong mode in that, and although it hasn't really particularly worked in this draft league, my only issue with it, it feels disjointed in this team where you can't really bring your top four mons ever. And you can't bring like Blood Moon, Farigarath, and Regigigas and Weezing, because if you get Weezing stuck next to Farigarath, which is supposed to block priority, or Weezing stuck into Blood Moon with its ability to hit ghost types and stuff like that, that could be a little awkward. I don't mind the two individual modes like in general. I just think they're awkwardly placed on the same team.
Yeah.
Also, I'd add Cottony doesn't get Tailwind,
Big
so
sad.
you are really limited, like to what your speed control options are here.
It's big sad, but I still think though this team has a lot of redeeming qualities with this trick room mode. If you're able to get trick room off, you should be able to get a lot of damage really quick. And it also does have the fake out support from Hypnoton and Monkey Dory as well, so it can have different options to get the trick room up. What did you rank this team, Dan?
I give it a 6.
Give a 6. Yes, SG, you did give this 5, and then somebody's adding a comment on one of their team saying, "My one concern with this team is actually damage myself, as I find it hard to make out a trick room mode work." I think with Blood Moon, you're always gonna have decent amount of damage. You might not have like enough damage outside of Blood Moon, so if you're looking for a potential trade, maybe to get some more damage, potentially trade in something for a bit of a more trick roomish sweeper. As Dan gave it a 6, I can now reveal that the staff are kind of actually in agreement with you here. A 6.2 was the final rating, inflated by Arrow. You're welcome. Arrow believes in your team. Um, but yeah, so 6.2 about what as it is expected, I think, with how most of us generally feel. And then now we're going to go on to the first Rain team. Squirrely would be proud, except Squirrely didn't draft Rain this season, but we'll get there. We have Walking Case with Los Suavos, with the Archelon and Pelipper logo, and featuring Archaludon and Pelipper. We also have Meowstic male form, Slitherwing, Mesprit, Electro Hisuian, Quillfish Hisuian, Bigamoongus, the Basculegion male that we'll see a lot on Rain teams, regular Sneasel, and Vespiquen. And yes, look it up. Yes, the person who won with it in Incineroar believes in it. Big shock. Go ahead. Anybody want to break some of this down? I'll start.
No, yeah, go for it.
It's sort of a standard draft Rain team that you'd see. You'd see the Archaludon with a Rain setter that's normally Pelipper or Politoed, depending on if people get snipes, which does happen, as we'll get into a group later where we get to talk about snipes, which is kind of funny here. I I mean, you can't really go wrong with Archaludon Rain with Pelipper and Basculegion. Those three together is always going to be interesting. Amoonguss is interesting on this team with redirection. Preferably to maybe keep Archaludon or the Basculegion safe. I'm interested to see how it works out for them. Um, I do have a little bit of concerns with some of the supporting cast around this Rain team in general. First off is minus the redirection from Amoonguss and Basculegion Male, your team's pretty reliant on Rain. You don't have a lot of damage outside of it. So if they would go against an opponent that says Set the Sun or has Manual Snow, Manual Sun, etc., I just worry a little bit about the support. Sure, you have Meowstic for screens and other things. I'm not really a huge Mesprit fan or enjoyer, so I'm not quite sure if that's going to be great support for you. And you already have that very fast Electro Hisuian, so I don't know if you're planning on running Electrowet if it gets it, but it seems like you have like very fast Pokemon, and then you kind of have like Archaludon, Pelipper Rain mode here. Um, I don't objectively think it's a bad team whatsoever. I think it's a solid Rain team. I'm just worried a lot about the supporting cast around us.
So I think when it comes to these rain teams, firstly, Meowstic gets Rain Dance, Prankster Rain Dance. So you're not limited to just Pelipper switching in, and if you're up against a Droughtmon, you're always going to be able to reset that rain. I think Basculegion is a much better call for these rain teams than something like Urshifu, because Swift Swim means that you can maybe KO a manual Sunsetter before it can set it up. I think Sneasel's a good pick as well because it also gets Rain Dance, and if you're up against a Prankstermon, you're probably going to outspeed. If let's say you're up against a Tornadus and it says Sunny Day, instead of Tailwind, your Sneasel will probably go next and reset Rain if you wanted to do that. I think Amoonguss is a bit of a odd choice because you could get something much better value in tier 3 for like an Electabuzz or a Magma, and it's not crippled by safety goggles.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually quite like the Slitherwing because there are going to be grass types that threaten the rain mode, and Slitherwing can just hit the grass types really hard. Overall, though, I just think basing your whole draft on weather, it's just it can have that problem where it's one-dimensional again, and you're always going to go into if you're playing this team, you're thinking you just need to get weather control, and you're going to have the edge.
And then I did mention the Electro Hisuian also has that Bullet Seed option that SJ pointed out into Archaludon, so you do have another way into there.
That's true.
But I
That's actually very
agree.
true.
Genuinely, I think, especially in this draft versatility, if you're going hard rain, Basculegion's probably better. But I am the champion of saying I love flexibility in draft. I like teams that have different modes. It makes them more unpredictable in a draft side format. So I think flexibility is something you need. While I think it's very reliant on rain and does have many ways to take advantage of it, I think a little bit of the lack of flexibility hurts this team a little bit. So, what did you rank this team?
I gave it 6.5.
6.5. And Lucky, do you have any other thing to add before we reveal the staff ranking?
No, I think you just about covered everything I was thinking.
The staff has ranked this team a 6.8. So staff has it so far as the best team in the group, slightly ahead of the 6.2. But overall, I think it's generally fair rating from staff. Um, I think Amoongus is fine, but again, I think not wasting points on it and maybe taking a lower tier like Raid Shadow, like Venonat would have been useful for this team. And then we're going to get on to the fourth team by Red Arrow Q. Excuse me, Red Arrow Keys and the Mimikyu Idols. We're going to see our first Ogrepon Heartflame team, and like one of the only Ogrepon Heartflame teams that isn't owned by a member of staff. We have Ogrepon Heartflame, Talonflame, Meowscarada, Fire Tauros, Hawlucha, Bravier Hisui, Thwacky, Primarina, Iron Leaves, Mimikyu, as the name suggests, and Chimecho. What anybody have any comments on this other than the aforesaid comment that me and Lucky are going to mention? What is a type chart?
Oh, um, funny enough, I was actually thinking of starting with that,
Go right
if that's
ahead. Be my
okay.
guest. Be my guest.
Okay, so yeah, I think the one thing that did jump at me was, of course, there was quite a lack of certain resistances like poison, flying, and rock. I noticed there was nothing too much to resist that, if at all. The ghost and ice weaknesses were also pretty lacking. There was also a lot of fire, flying, grass, and psychics on that team, like disproportionately. Like, I think the power level of the team is actually overall really, really high. Like, it's a really, really strong hyper offensive core, but I just feel like it's a little bit prone to snowballing if they don't have the right typing matchups against it.
I, I agree with you. I think that no offense, the type chart is a bit of a mess. I think Talonflame with Ogeron Heartflame could be a bit awkward. Um, I would have rather seen a different type Ogrepon with this, or a different Tailwind user that wasn't exactly a fire type. I think Taurus Blade is so fast. I get you have Trick Room with Mimikyu, but you're not setting it for yourself. And Trick Room on Meowscarada, you
Being a
want to
water
like,
type.
yeah, you want to most of the time use that Trick Room as anti tools with Meowscarada and Mimikyu. I'm also not a huge Trimecho fan, and I also do not believe in Iron Leaves. I am apologize. I am not an Iron Leaves enjoyer. It basically needs Terra to succeed, and due to the fact that you might want Ogerpon to Terra or about anything else to Terra, um, being pretty restrictive, and most of the times you want to Terra out of that Grass Psychic type to avoid the 80,000 different weaknesses it has. I have just a general type problem with this team. I think overall they're strong Pokemon, just make me think it's pretty hard on your side to prep for rock types, prep for electric types, prep for a bunch of other different things as well. So again, strong Pokemon, just a bit of type overlap. Anybody else have anything to say?
So I actually do believe in Iron Leaves, and it's not just because I lost to it yesterday, but it
Totally
actually can
not.
hit the poison types that do threaten a lot of the team. Um, I think the team is actually like it can go in.
Hello. And my Discord crashed.
There are some really like good mons, but bad, and I think there's not really much of balance across the team.
That's a fair assessment. So, in the fair assessment, what have you rated this team?
I rate this team a 7.
7 Dan has rated this team. Anybody have any guesses what staff rated this team? Do you want to take a guess, Dan?
7.
Team on average a 4.8 was the ended up rating team. Not the lowest in the group, definitely not the highest. I think just the type coverage was what mostly brought this team down. Three, four, four, three. Yeah, close enough. We're not. Three is a little harsh, but yeah. Um, we're gonna get on to the first staff member of the day. SJ, we're talking about you, so you can go to bed. Um, and your lucky Ludicolos who defeated me in the top eight last season. And we are starting off with Ogrepon Wellspring here. Illamuse, the one of our um, say one of our infinite Pokemon here in Draft League. We have Slowthing Galar, Rhyperior, Houndstone, Florges, Kanto Tauros, Raging Bolt or Mr. Longneck itself, Scraggy, Hippopotas, and Moltres. What do we think about this team?
I think there's a good balance across the team. You know, you've got that sort of Trick Room mode, Tailwind mode. You've got Pokemon that are versatile and can be good in both. Um, Scraggy, I think, has been picked up a lot, and it's, you know, put an Eviolite on it, it's basically Scrafty. Um, I just think this might be a really controversial opinion, but I think Raging Bolt's a bit mid in draft. So,
Controversy alert.
I mean, I used it in Series 5 and it was terrible, and Jabba warned me it was terrible, and I was like, nah, it's not, but it turned out to be pretty mid.
Okay. And Lucky, do you have anything to add on either this Raging Bolt slander or correct assessment?
I'll say I don't have personal experience using Raging Bolt or going too much against Raging Bolt. I do think it could pop off in right support.
Um, I agree. I do like oop, can
It's
you hear me?
got pretty versatile options. You could run Assault Vest,
One
Calm
thing I'll also say
Mindsets.
is I had a Wrangler in Series 5, and the reason I went to has Florges, so Raging Bolt can use Booster Energy and then just take the Assault Vest off Florges.
Which is
But
a
then I
fair
also
play.
trialed this stuff in Series 5, and it was just, I'd still stand by a bit mid, but
Um, I'm going to do the first controversial opinion of this team. I hate the sand mode. I hate sand, and I don't like it in Draft League. There, I've said it. I don't like the sand mode. I'm sorry. I do not believe in the Hippopotas Houndstone mode. I don't know how often it actually comes on this team compared to a Trick Room or Tailwind mode. I don't know how often it goes against some of the teams in the group, minus the aforesaid Rain mode. I'm just not excited for the sand mode. I think it could work, but me personally, I don't see it. I think Raging Volt's actually going to be pretty good. I think it all depends on. I think Raging Volt's a Pokemon that has a high skill like ceiling, but a very low skill floor. Meaning, if you're not quite versed in it, Raging Bolt's very hard to use and might feel clunky and not fitting on a team. But I feel like if with SJ anything's possible, that he could use Raging Bolt to success here. I do like the Rhyperior pick though. I think it's a very good Trick Room option, and overall it's pretty bulky and a lot stronger than people give it credit for. So I do like that, and I do like the Florges. I'm just not a huge fan of that after set sand mode, and I'm not a huge fan of Kanto Tauros, although I do recognize its value. I'm just personally not a huge fan in it. But yeah, I don't
I
even
feel like I
remember
don't
you
have
running
as much
Hippo
of a
Like and Rock against
problem.
me. I'm gonna be genuinely honest. But go ahead.
I feel like I don't have as much of a problem with the Sand Core as you might have, considering it's a pretty low value option too, with Houndstone being a tier 4, Hippowdon or Hippopotas being a tier 6. It's not really costing much to run it.
I agree it doesn't really cost much. It doesn't necessarily, personally, I'm not a fan of it, but I think SJ has drafted better teams, in my opinion, especially in this league. But what did you rank this team, Dan?
I give this team a 7.
A 7. What do you think as a whole we rated this team?
I'd say
Anybody?
something similar.
Anybody? All right. So now that I've given you all a few seconds, I will see them in chat if people ask. It just takes a little bit because there's a bit of stream delay. The staff has rated this the highest team so far, and that is going to be 7.25. So 7.25 here for SJ, which I think is very fair.
Not rigged, by the way.
No, this is not rigged. We do not take an account of any, like SJ's own 10 he gave himself does not count. Sorry, SJ. Um, we're going to go to Forest next. Forest and the Snowpoint Capybaras is going to be the next team. We're starting off with Fluttermane, Gudra Hisui, Comfey, Noivern, Vaporeon, Spiritomb, Ursaring, Rillaboom, Magmar, Ampharos, and Cloth. Fluttermane's scary. I'm going to start out doing that. Anybody else? Any other comments?
I think this is just a
I
pretty
mean,
good team, just all round.
Lucky.
I think you have Fluttermane who can just play so much offense. You have Comfy who can run Trick Room and Tailwind. Noivern has Frisk, so if you're worried about a Mon running an item, you can literally just find out straight off the back. Rillaboom can be disruptive, but Jab has shown multiple times you can stick a life orb on it and you just turn it into a bit of a nuke. You have redirection. Ursaring is a good trick room sweeper. I don't think it's, a 10 out of 10, but I'd say in general it's just a really pretty good team.
I'm going to agree here. I think it's actually a very solid team. You obviously, I'm going to talk Fairy Ground. You have your Fairy Steel Dragon Core, your Fire Water Grass Core, and you actually do have that. The Fire Water Grass Core is a little weak, but we'll get there. I think Fluttermane is a very good Pokemon in draft. It can be very versatile. I think Gudra Hisui actually pairs with it pretty well. Comfey is just a really good Pokemon in draft. It can do a lot of different things. It has access to, I believe, Tailwind and Trick Room, if I'm not mistaken, which could be a bit of a nightmare to go against. Noivern's there to be a secondary Dragon type and or Tailwind setter if you don't want to run Comfey with the Tailwind or Trick Room, which I think a lot of times you won't, because you might want that extra protect or supporting move on it. Vaporeon, I'll let Lucky talk about when we get there. Spiritomb's an interesting Pokemon. I don't dislike it. I don't like it. I think it's okay on this team. Ursaring's always a fun tier 5 that can fit onto almost any team. As well as this Rillaboom is really good here. I think Rillaboom and Comfey together is a good pairing. You get 75% floral healing. Oh, somebody just mentioned that. Well, you get 75% floral healing in grassy terrain, which is kind of busted. It also has some good bulk as well to it. Magmar is a good redirector. Ampharos, I really don't know what it's doing on this team, but it's there. And then Cloth's there as well. Lucky, do you want to talk about Vaporeon or anything else on the team?
uh, I'm not sure if people don't know about Vaporeon already, but I wouldn't say it's like the best water Pokemon in the tier 4, but it's still my personal favorite just because, well, being an evolution enthusiast.
I swear to God, if
But
anybody posts the copy pasta, I will time you out. Just saying.
same, same.
So don't even try it. Um, I think this is an
Hey,
overall
just kidding.
solid
Go on.
team. I think the only downside is its offensive Pokemon are a little frail if you're saying it's Fluttermane plus Noivern. Although you could run Rillaboom offensive, and that thing's not frail whatsoever. I think it's overall a solid team. Dan, what did you rank this team?
I actually give
SJ,
it an
don't
8.
give it an 8. SJ, don't you dare. You give it an 8. Um,
Yeah,
the staff has ranked this a 7.6. So look up, you're very close. It was not 7.7, but it was 7.6, and so far is the highest ranking team here. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I do. I agree with that.
Okay. And then we're going to go on to the last team of Team 1, which is Dozogiri. Yippee. I love Dozogiri, everybody, so much. It totally didn't ruin my Reg A, even though I drafted it. Anyways, we have the North Cal Commanders here with Tatsugiri Dondozo. We have Garganackle, or Garganachi, or Saltman. We have Gengar, Flamigo, Torracat, Misdreavus, or Misdreavius, Glamora, Brute Bonnet, Ditto, and Pikachu. What do we think about this team here, other than it's a Dondozo Tatsugiri team?
This team is not just like a Dozogiri team. This team is like all in on Dozogiri. It's really trying
Yeah.
to get that Tatsugiri to die and get the Flamigo in, or just poison things with Gamora and stall it out. I personally don't think it's going to work in draft. Like it's the same thing I've been saying. It's always going to be in an uphill battle. There's only really one mode your team can do. I think the Pikachu, I guess, to redirect. I don't see the vision for this team. I see the vision. I just don't think it's good.
I think this is actually, I see the vision. I don't mind the vision. I think actually it's one of the better Dundozo Tatsugiri teams we've seen built in the league. A lot of time when we see Dundozo Tatsugiri, we only see that mode and then just a bunch of Pokemon that are just there. I feel like even though you're all in on one mode and I do like flexibility, is that they did do the right thing in drafting a ton of support around it. So it's either going to work really well for them or it's going to be really not. But I think when you're drafting Dundozo Tatsugiri in a draft format, I think you kind of just have to go all in on it. And I don't think it could be a secondary mode. So I think they did the right thing by drafting around it. I think the Poise, the Gamora, the Brute Bonnet's kind of classic with Spore. Ditto in case you're in trouble. I would like to see if you wanted Pikachu, I would have rather had a bulkier Raichu with a Lightning Rod, or just Rhyperior with Terra Electric or anything else that could have maybe been better with Lightning Rod, but I think overall it's actually a pretty solid Dundozo Tatsugiri game, and I think it's one of the best ones we've actually seen in the league.
I do think Look It Up's made a good point. They did just say you can just stick a Mirror Herb on one of your mons.
I mean, that is very
Then
true,
this
but you
team
could
doesn't
also,
really have a secondary option.
that is very true, but if you manage to get some setup like beforehand before it gets in and waste the Mirror Herb, or if for some reason Brute Bonnet has knockoff or Torcat runs knockoff, it does have potential to stop those sort of shenanigans. But yeah, what do you rank this team?
I give it a 5.
Give it a 5. Do we think that's a little? I think that's a little too low, personally, but I can understand where you're coming from. What do we think staff has ranked this team?
I think it
And
might be a little bit higher based on chat.
and yes, I will mention yes, Ditto is always a get out of jail free card, so Ditto could put in work. Give one more second for people to get it in. We have some 6, some 5s from the chat. We have a 7. Staff has ranked this team 6.6 was the overall. Right. So we have some staff members actually that were pretty higher on this team than I think people have it. Yes, Esther, you did put it as a 7, so you can blame yourself. But yeah, so overall, the top 3 teams from this group ended up being Forest at 7.6, SJ at 7.25, and Walking Cake at 6.8 are your staff's top 3 from this group. And the bottom for this group is Red Dice at 3. So we're now going to move on to group 2, which is my group. I'm going to say beforehand, I will not talk about my team. I will not rank my team. I may defend some points, but none of my input was for my own team. So you don't have to worry about their bias at all. But we're going to start out with Shadow Johnny, who I still don't have a logo or a name for. Please send me your logo or name. I would appreciate it if you're watching. But we're going to start with another Rain team. Did you think we were going to be done with Rain? No. We have Archalinon and Pelipper again, but this time instead of Bascu Legion, we have the Urshifu Rapid Strike being the option. We see the Pikachu again here. We see Grafaiai, Mamoswine, SJ himself, Torracat, Appleton, Skeledirge, and Arbok. What are our thoughts on this Rain variation?
I just, I'm just going to be repeating myself every time we get to a rain team. I think Rapid Strike on paper looks better, but I think Basket Legion is better as it's tier 2 and you can't be stopped by Fake Out and you get that double speed, meaning you can seriously threaten something that might want to set the sun up or something like that. Pikachu's good, has the lightning rod. Ludicolo has fake out. I see the vision, and the team is good. You've got to respect it, but I don't know. I just don't think drafting Weather as a basing your whole team around it is ever a good idea.
I,
This whole way through is just going to be me hating on all the rain teams.
yeah. Uh, like Squirrel set surprise. Squirrel did not give this the highest score. Actually, I'm gonna defend this team a little bit here. I don't think I gave it the highest score, but I am going to defend this team. I think its support around it's actually a lot better than the other team. While I think Bash League is a better pure rain option, I kind of like the Urshifu Rapid Strike because I don't know if it's necessarily all dependent on rain. You have some other things you can do with the team. I think Mamoswine's actually a very good coverage pick for this team, and as I saw with Mamoswine using it last season, I think Mamoswine's a great Pokemon. I think it's actually has some very good use in this team because the things that would threaten this would be a lot of electric types. For example, Ludicolo. It can hit Archaldon before Terra for decent amount, and maybe some grass types with the Ushu Grass Strike. And Mamoswine deals with both of those really well. I think its ice type coverage is very good. I think especially its ground type coverage as well. And it's not like you can't just Earthquake if you have Pelipper next to it as well. So I think it's pretty decent option into here. Grafai also has the move Flatter, which could raise Archaldon's special attack by one. So even if you would, for example, get the rain stopped or anything, you still have options with Archaldon to raise its special attack. And if you run like White Herb or a clearing herb item, you can get that +1 special attack and not have to worry about Electro Boost being stopped. Um, I obviously Ludicolo is a decent secondary rain abuser. Torcat some good support with Fake Out, I think, as well in a Violate. And I don't also think with this team you were forced to use Rain all the time. Contrary to popular belief, I think this team can definitely function out of Rain. It is decently slow as well against like a Trick Room team, so I don't think it would have too many issues facing a Trick Room team. It could struggle against if a team is unable to do it with Rain and maybe get Tailwind up. But I think overall, this actually Rain team has some more support. I don't mind the Skeletor here in the Rain. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it's okay. But I think this overall team has more support than the other one and doesn't rely, despite having a secondary Rain sweeper, can work outside of Rain. Anybody have any comments?
I think the one thing I probably would add a lot to these points is I'm wondering what the speed control options are outside of Pelipper, more to say.
I think that's the only downside to this team is they don't have a lot of speed control options outside.
Yeah, that's where I could also see this team struggling a little bit, even outside of Rain. I do think it is more flexible outside of Rain, as you said. Just there isn't too much to control speed outside of Pelipper, from what I see.
All right, Dan, do you want to give your rating of this team?
I give it 7.
Yeah, a 7. Do you think staff is going to be higher, lower, on the money? What do you think staff rated this team?
I reckon a little higher.
Think it was a little higher. Okay. And Glare Arbok does not count. SJ, stop turning into Tom. Glare Arbok is not fully speed control. Um, looking up says 4 or 5. Ami says 6.5. We have some people saying 7, 6.1. Staff has rated this team. Average is a flat 7. So 7 is the average rating for this team, with Arrow putting it in the top spot ahead of everyone else, or else it would be a little lower. So 7 is the result for Shadow Johnny here. Next, we have Sal. Sal is the Cresselia Crusaders this season. We're going to go through their team here. We have Tier 1 Cresselia. We have Hatterene, Hydra Apple, the big Wo Chen. We have Orthworm, Swampert, Toadschool, Big Ursaluna, Cobalion, Litten, and Gothita, which, guys, I love Gothorita. Please stop drafting Gothita. Don't draft Gothita. I understand why in the other group. Just don't do it. Please, just draft Gothorita instead. But what do you think about this team, Dan?
Um, I think it's pretty limited into Trick Room. That being said, if Trick Room does go up, you do kind of look like Ursaluna can pretty much take a game on its own. And also Orthworm and Ursaluna's a pretty good combo, especially Cresselia Ursaluna too. Not any psychic terrain for Hatterene to abuse. Hydrapple, I don't think it's the strongest pick. And Wochen also is just going to lower Ursaluna's attack. So don't fully see the vision there. But I do think if you can get Trick Room up, you've got options. I do think this team's very limited though.
I think this team has a lot of tools, but it's incomplete, would be my assessment. I think they have a lot of tools. If they made a few trades, it might be a little better. Um, and no, just to butt in, this is not Group 8 slander. I love what you guys did stopping the one team, but we'll get there later. I'm not a huge fan of Cresselia, but if you want to use Cresselia, that's completely fine. My only issue is outside of Trick Room, Ursaluna is your main damage, and once Ursaluna goes down, your damage is a little lackluster. So if you want to have a little light on damage, you might need to focus a little more on keeping alive. So maybe something like a screen user, maybe like a prankster screen, like a Morgrim, or something else like that would be, I think, great on this team. You have redirection and Toadstool, so it is a little okay to get Trick Room up, but you do fall a little bit victim to Imprison and other teams' Trick Room being able to stop it. Um, Ursaluna can run some unique sets, and I think they might need to be a little exploring. But I think you need in this team a secondary damage dealer to go along with Ursaluna, maybe some screens or something else to support it, and then I think this team would be a little bit better. I just feel like it's lacking that second primary damage dealer, so a little bit of survivability, and just a little more utility would be great. Did you have any thoughts on this one?
No additional thoughts I can think of.
All right, Dan, what have you rated this team? A 4. Now, do we think staff has rated this higher or lower? And yes, we will get to Group 8's first round. I am going to definitely mention it when we get there because I have to because it tells the story of the group. But we're not there yet. Um, but we will definitely get there. We have -6. Hey, we're not that mean. Come on. Everybody can take a team and win. I don't want to be. Don't think that just because we're rating your team low, we don't fully believe that and you can win with it because you can definitely win with teams. Uh, 4.7 from staff. Um, Unfortunately, we are a general staff a little bit lower. We are at 3.8 was the rating here from staff. 3.8. Like I said, I think it has good tools. I just think it needs a few changes or a few little tweaks to help it out a little bit. But I still think the team 100% has potential. So don't think also that just because we're rating your team a little lower doesn't mean we can't think you can win with it, or we're just completely wrong, which is 100% a possibility. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dan and Lucky to speak. I will introduce my team, but I will not be trying to speak much about my team. All I will say is I think I had a better team last season, but I think my team last season was beyond broken. We have me, the Drachu's Whimsical Wishmakers here, with Ogrepon Heartflame, which is going to be a common theme above staff members. We have Primarina, Hitmon Top, Oranguru, Iron Thorns, Yanmega, Venomat, Thwacky, Sneasel Hisui, Morpeko, and Ursaluna Blood Moon.
So yeah, I think this team is very good. You were saying earlier about versatility. You've got Yam Mega, you can get fast, you can set Trick Room up, you can go for instruct stuff in Trick Room. Every single mon on the team can probably like go fast in Tailwind, but can be like slow for Trick Room. You have Venonat, which is Venonat, Flacky, and Sneasel, all great supporting mons, good value picks. And then you have some nukes in Heartflame and Blood Moon. I think this team's really good.
Yeah, I'll say if you're either going on the fast side or or the slow side, there's really, really, really high damaging options for both. It's honestly one of the rosters I have kind of the least notes on because it actually is pretty good. There's nothing too much to remark on it, but the synergy is just there. I'd probably say if there was maybe a negative I could focus on a little bit was probably a little bit with the type charting, where it was a little bit flying ice week, but it's not a very big deal in my opinion. Just a point to knock off, but otherwise it's just very much just a very synergistic option. Or it just has a lot of very synergistic options. Oh
Uh,
no, it's not going to be that high.
I will I will do a little bit of talking, not too much. I did want to try out Iron Thorns. I lost to it a few times, and I think it just fits on this team because of its speed range. So I'll see if I'm an Iron Thorns enjoyer and supporter or a hater after this season. I don't really have a huge opinion on it, but I'm hoping it will be a believer and work on my team. Uh, but yeah, that's the only thing to talk about. I don't want to defend it too much. The probably only pick I'll have to defend are probably Steezel and Morpeko. Uh, Sneasel is basically like a secondary mascot for me at this point. Uh, if you not from this league, but from IPDL, which is our another singles league I'm in, it was basically a mascot pick that I picked it up and tried to like sweep 4 teams in my season that does not exist that you will not find on record. Um, but yeah, I again did not vote for my. I did vote for my own team, but it got immediately excluded, and I would not rank my own team. So I'm gonna turn over to Dan to have his ranking, and then I'll reveal staff's ranking, and then I will comment on staff's ranking.
I actually give it a 9. I think it's the best team we've seen throughout the stream so far.
All right, and a 9. What would you as chat give it? I'm interested to see what chat does. And also, another point on Morpeko, it does get parting shot. So it's not like it's useless. We have 7.5 coming in here from chat. We have 9. Squirrel, you didn't give it a 9. Stop lying. Um, I know you didn't give it a 9. We have a 7. Anybody else? All right. I'm going to. Yes, SJ, you gave it a 7. I'm disappointed in you. 8.4. Loki 2, because you. No, 7.9. I feel like the staff average is 7.6. It's actually a flat 7, which I personally think it's a little low, and I am biased in this point. I think it is definitely a little low compared to the first team, no offense. But yeah, flat 7 is the end of ranking behind SJ's team, which I don't agree with. Anyways, we're going to move on because I'm not going to rant about it. We're going to go to reverse knockout here in the Bidoof's fundings next. We have Landorus Therian, Frigarath, Noivern, Milotic, Kaparaja, my favorite, Ambipom, Electrode, the Iron Boulder, Enamorous Therian, Heracross, and Tinka Tough. I agree. The other staff definitely didn't like there. But anybody will have any comments on this team?
Um, so you've got both like the Tailwind and Trick Room modes. However, I just don't think the damage output is. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I just don't think the damage output is there. If we was to compare it to your team, you have the Blood Moon, you have the Half Flame, you have something that can just essentially nuke something the moment you get speed control. I don't really see any mons on the team that like can threaten massive damage straight away. They all either want to set up or do some damage here, some damage there, or they're gonna have to rely on choice items.
I get to you, but I think it's actually you got some decently solid Pokemon here. I mean, Landorus is always solid; that could fit on almost any team. Furgraph, I get the priority Trick Room, but however, I'd like to see more Trick Room pieces if you're bringing it. It mostly seems like an anti-priority tool on this team, which I think Serena would do better with. And you freeze up the tier 2 spot because you only have like
I don't know.
Copper that would take an Enamorous Therian that would take advantage of it.
Yeah, but Frigoroth is your Trick Room set as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think also
Milotic's
as well. It's
kind of passive, but solid water type. Ambipom, you're not going to see me take any slack to. I had so much fun using that thing. Fast fake out plus Gen 1 move pool somehow.
Or just fake out last resort.
Iron Boulder is very interesting. I don't know. I like Iron Boulder, but I don't at the same time. I'm interested to see how it does in VGC. I don't have much experience with Iron Boulder, so I'm interested to see with how fast it is. You don't need to necessarily run a tail room around it. I wonder how much damage output it's going to end up doing. Because it seems like once Landorus and Boulder go down, your damage output like falls down a cliff, and you have not a lot of damaging Pokemon. I do think it has some pretty good synergy though overall. I think there's some good type disparity. Um, yeah, overall, I think it's solid. I don't think it's top tier team, but I don't think it's like near the bottom. And SJ, you can't call Iron Boulder bad. You're gonna beat me with it in like 4 days. Any other comments on some of these specific ones?
Oh,
Mm, I
nothing for
feel,
me.
yeah, I feel that there's not too much to say about the team. It's like some solid mons. You have a Tailwind option, you have a Trick Room option.
Yeah, I
I
feel
think you
like
just need to hope your Landorus and Iron Boulder do enough damage.
yeah, I think the team could pop off definitely depending on player skill more so as well. Like it has the tools.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you also could just manual E-Terrain with Electrode, which could help. But I think it's an overall solid team. Dan, what did you rank this team?
I give it 6.
A 6. A 6 is Dan. Do we have any? What do we think, chat? That we're gonna rank this team as staff. We have a 4.5 being projected so far. We have a lucky. I'm not counting yours. 6.3 as being projected. Anybody else? 5.5. All right, the staff has ranked this a 4.6, 5.3. 5.8 is the staff score for this one. So a little bit above 5, closer to 6, but a 5.8. So pretty solid. Next, we're going to go to Womp from Cactus Way, with the Cactus. We have another Raging Bolt here, but we have a Raging Bolt Sun team. So we have Raging Bolt and Snasha as the Trick Room option. We have Terrakion, we have Scizor, Jumpluff, Typhlosion, Kanto Muck, and then we have Torkoal, Scraggy, Gastrodon, and a fake Pokemon that doesn't exist. Sorry, Meganium. What do we think about this team?
I like it. I think you can just need Typhlosion, Torkoal, Scarf, Eruption. You have Jumpluff, who is just one of the best, especially in some of the best Pokémons. Raging Bolt can benefit from the sun, but then you have the Sinister who can set Trick Room, and then you can go run Specs, Torkoal. Raging Bolt can be slow. I think it's got good options. However, it probably does suffer. While the weather can be really good, if you do lose that weather control, you're probably in trouble. I would also say Raging Bolt is going to be good into water types if rain or water types threaten the team.
I'd agree.
So I do quite like the team overall.
I think it's a good Sun team. I think Jumpluff as Sun is a good Pokemon, and it's not as good outside of Sun. I like the Raging Bolt Sinasha as a Trick Room option as well, so you don't necessarily have to rely on the Sun, though you'll probably want to most of the time. Gastron can be just a nice plug to soak up water type moves from the
It
Sun.
can go
However, it's
hard
kind
at
of
Trick Room as
just
well.
true. It also is kind of just sitting there though. But Raging Bolt is there. I think Raging Bolt's much more positioned on this type of team to excel, especially because in the rain you also have Gastrodon you can do well. Sinasha's decent in the rain, and Bolt can do just as well in the rain as well. A
I
few
also
things.
think
Go ahead.
I was going to say I also think this team's a bit of a nightmare to prep for because if you go fast to try and stop maybe a Torkoal Jumpluff or Torkoal Typhlosion, and then you get Trick Roomed, or if you go to try and stop Trick Room and they leave Torkoal Typhlosion, I think the leads are going to be very important from the player in this and the approach. But I do like the team.
Yeah, I think it forces a lot of prep. And I will say one thing. I don't think Scissor fits this team. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
I
honest.
agree.
I would find something else that's I'm not a huge Terrakian believer, so I think if you would just get some different tier threes, I think this could even elevate this team some more. Um, but yeah, that's my opinion. Do you have any opinions, Lucky?
Nothing that wasn't already discussed.
All right. Also, great logo, by the way. Little Womp. What did you rate this, Dan?
I actually gave this a 7.
A 7. Okay. What do we think staff has given this?
I reckon a little lower.
A little lower than 7.
I reckon a 5 or a 6.
You think a 5 or a 6? You think Harsh staff is back at it again?
Yeah.
Um, what do we chat? What do we think? Do we think it's closer to a 7, or do we think it's Harsh staff moment? We have 7.6. We have Umbi with the 4. We have 7.2. Anyone else? We have 6.5, and I'll wait for one more real quick before revealing it. And we have an 8. So staff has ranked this also exactly 7, meaning me, Shadow Johnny, and Caxley are all ranked purely at 7 is the final ranking for this team. Do we think it's fair? I think it's fair. Though I'm sorry, I still think my biasly I should be higher, but that's a different story. Um, Next, we're going to go to Hux and his Scyther spread spammers that has two Pokemon that can use spread moves and has a Scyther. We have Urshifu Single Strike, so our first in case of Single Strike here. We have Indeedee Male, we have Azumarill, Taurus Blaze, Electro Hisuian, Espathra, Scyther, Regidrago, Iron Crown, Minior, and Flapple. So we have a little bit of we have our first instance of Spy Spam Iron Crown with the Iron Crown and DD. We have Urshifu Single Strike here, and we have a little bit of a slower, bulkier Azumarill, some Intim support with Taurus Blaze, some speed with Electro Hisuian, Scyther, which can do some Tailwind things, and we have Regidrago, who is also there to spam that Dragon Energy. Also, the classic spread spammer of Wicked Blow. What do we
I
think
mean,
here?
there is just like a lot of offense in this team, and if Hux can get everything in position, he could be winning games very quick. I do like the team. It looks a little hard to pilot. You know, you don't. Your only real tailwind option is probably, I think it's just Cipher. I'm not too sure if Flap will get to it. Espathra's fun, especially with psychic terrain. But yeah, it is really going to be the Urshifu, the Drago, and Iron Crown just trying to dish out as much damage as fast as possible. Although you could also veer into Trick Room mode. This is what I like about Pokemon like Drago is that they can be made to be really slow, especially
Mhm.
Urshifu Single Strike as well. In like regular VGC, it's been made from some hard Trick Room teams. So I do think there's multiple options. But either way, whether you go fast or slow, it's about just getting damage as quickly as you can.
Lucky, any points you would like to add?
I will say, if you're going to be fighting against Huxley, bring wide guard.
Yeah. Welcome to Wide Guards. I am your host here. Any Pokemon that has Wide Guard is bringing it and spamming it. That's it. That's what I'm saying. The only also downside is also Indeedee male. It's not Indeedee female. I get why it's not Indeedee female, but Indeedee male kind of sad. But yeah, welcome to Wide Guard. Just bring the bulkiest Wide Guard Pokemon possible and pray and predict the turns. It's kind of like regulation, the regulation right now with Shadow Rider, Glacial Lance, and Wide Guard Pokemon. So get ready to learn
Lovely.
Wide Guard. Um, this looks very offensive and is basically, I think it'd be like a ton of Wide Guard coin flips. I'm not gonna lie. This might be. I don't think these games against this team is gonna last long. I think it's gonna be prediction heavy from both sides, and I think we'll see if Hux is winning up to that game. So, Dan, what have you rated this team?
I've gone 6.5.
6.5. I would like also mention I'm not a huge fan of Urshifu Single Strike on this team. And like Esther said, if you do kind of get rid of Iron Crown, you do have a fairy type that just hits everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Terra Fairy as well. Just
But yeah,
very
6.5.
strong here.
Let's hear some of the other rankings. I have a 6 prediction from chat. Do we think 6.5 is high for staff, low for staff, or about right?
I think it's about right this time.
It's about right.
We've
5
matched on a few.
We have 5.5 as a prediction, 7.8 as a prediction. We have 5 as a prediction, and we have 6.2. So I can reveal that staff has indeed given it a 6.2. Thanks for spoiling us, Jay. 6.2 is what the staff has given this team. Next, we're going to go to Silcoon with the introverted team because they think that will happen when they socialize with new people. We're going to have the Rillaboom being the tier 1 choice. We have Among Us, or Amoongus, making its return. Mienshao, Gardevoir, Toxtricity, Gliscor, Big Up Quagsire. Indeedee Female is on this team. Garganackle, or Garganachi, or Mr. Saltman. Chansey, and the fish that made me go 0-11. What do we think about this team?
I think using 2 tier 1 slots to draft Rillaboom and Indeedee Female, it's. I personally wouldn't do it. Fair enough. I don't think it's the best draft planning, but and then you drafted Amoongus as a tier 2. You're drafting a lot of supporting options. Yeah, I think this is one of the weaker teams.
Lucky, do you have any points?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. There's not really much in the way of offensive options past the tier twos. I mean, Rillaboom can do a lot of damage. Manshao can do some as well as Toxtricity. But beyond that, I don't see how you game plan a winning strategy outside of those three.
Dual terrain sad. I'm big sad with dual terrain that
Yeah,
go against each other is big sad. I would
yeah,
prefer to have seen all go into Rillaboom or all go into Indeedee, and with Iron Crown gone, I would have gone all into Rillaboom. This looks like a stall team, not gonna lie, with a Moongus and a Gliscor. I'm interested to see how it works, but I personally also don't see the vision. I think there's some good Pokemon in general. I think Rillaboom's a good Pokemon. I think Mienshao is a good Pokemon. I think Gardevoir is a good Pokemon. DD Female is a good Pokemon, but besides the DD Female Gardevoir Psy Spam, Rillaboom overwriting its terrain and like Amoongus stall with Mienshao Fake Out, I feel like it has like 4 different identities or 3 different identities that just clash with each other. And I think just picking 1 or 2 of those and building off of those 2 probably would have served this team a lot better. But what did you rate this, Dan?
I gave it a 3.
A 3. I can reveal, as
However,
Scroly
like you
said.
said, it's.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's gonna be if it is a stall team and they pilot it well, they prove us wrong. Like fair play.
Mm-hmm. That's what I said. I think it's piloted well. It can still do some damage. But this is the first unanimous staff vote. All staff voted the same here. What do we think staff voted? Higher or lower than 3? Or was 3 on the money? What do we think here? We have a 2.5, a 1.4. Okay, we're not going to be that harsh. I'm going to say we're not going to be that harsh. There is nothing rated in the 1 points, whatever. 2, 2, 3, 3, 2. Unanimously, this was voted a 3. So a 3 was given for this team. See, we're not that harsh, guys. We're not doing a 1.4 and 2. We're not that harsh, I promise. Next, we have the last of this Tree Dolphin and Team Die Phalanx, or Day Phalanx, or Phalanx, I don't know. We have Chenpao Clefairy, a scary duo. We have Palafin, as Tree is known for. Meowscarada, Espeon, Dragalge, Phalanx. Again, the Moltres Galarian, Arcanine Hisui, Dugtrio, and Komala. What do we think of this team?
Well, to Chen Pao and Harkenine, who are also on the team I lost to yesterday. So I feel like I've got to show them a bit of respect. Um, you can set the Clefairy's great support Pokemon. You can set up the Moltres. You don't really have anything else. Well, I guess the Phalanx as well can set up. Um, there's not too many speed control options. I guess Espeon and Meowscarada get Trick Room, and Moltres gets Tailwind. Um, not too sure what the vision is other than setting up and then just going Chien-Pao Arcanine.
Justin, Lucky, do you have any points to add?
I think the one note that I saw with the team when I was at least looking at type charting, it's pretty very weak. Um,
True.
Other than that, it's honestly, I think it's a little bit more of like a type, like a typical Chien-Pao hyper offensive team. I just wonder how it just slows games down if it needs to.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it's overall solid. I think it's a solid team. Shampoo, Arcanine, and Clefairy are very hard to deal with. I'm sorry, I'm not going to put that much respect into the Palafin basket until it proves me wrong. I used that thing and it was awful. Um, I'm not a huge
Oh,
Meowscarada fan, but it could take advantage of some of these Chen Pao defense drops. Um, One thing I will saw in chat, and I am going to point out, there is a huge lack of special damage on this team. I guess you have Espeon, Moltres, Galar, but besides that, you have a huge lack of special attacking. And I think that could also play a little bit of a downfall. I think there's just some solid Pokemon, minus Doug Trio. There might be some gimmicks with it in Arena Trap. But I just think in general, this team doesn't set up Palafin really well. So I don't know, it might not quite fit on this team, but I think overall there's some solid cores. I mean, you have Intimidate, you have Follow Me, and you have a Fire Water Grass core.
the only other thing I'd add is that where I said there is also you do have Trick Room setters. Both Trick Room setters are very fast, so I don't really see that as too much of an option.
Yeah. I think a bulkier
But there is damage. You
grass.
have to respect. You have to go into this matchup respecting that. You know the damage it can dish out.
Okay. I think a bulkier grass and a different water would be a little better on this team, but I think it's overall a solid team. What have you ranked it?
I ranked it 6.
A 6. Do we think 6 is going to be high, low, or just about right? Squirrely, that has to be the worst take I've ever seen. I was going to draft Espeon and realized Mesprit was in the same tier. You should have drafted Espeon. What are we doing here? We have 6.5, 6.6, 6.2, 5.8. Mesprit be 100 times better than Espeon? No. You have two Evolution fans on here. I'm not going to take that. It's a terrible take. It's a terrible take from here at the desk. Terrible take.
Agreed. Agreed.
6.3. We rated this a 6.6 was the final ranking. 6.6 for Tree. So this means at the end of this group, we have 3 tied for this top spot between me, Shadow Johnny, and Cactus at 7s. And we have Silcoon rated the lowest at a 3. So next, we're going to go on to group 3 here. And I will let you guys, I'm going to step out for a minute. So I will let Dan and Lucky start with this group, and then I will be right back.
tier 6 option, so not gonna knock off too much because of that. But yes, the other options aside were just really solid and synergetic with each other. I'd probably
Yeah, it's a
say
lot
the
of offense on the
only
team as well.
yeah, the one knock I could say would be it could use some sort of a ghost resist, but it's not really much of a main knock, if anything.
I do think the team can struggle against Trick Room. You don't really, you have got Montauk and Taunt, but your only Trick Room in prison is Fluttermane. But,
Yeah,
you know, realistically, this team wants to go fast, hit hard. And if the game does get slowed down and Trick Room goes up, it could be in trouble. But still, this team is, in my opinion, very, very strong.
agreed.
I want to
Teaching against
apologize.
Taunt, Mental Herb exists.
I want to apologize for my. As soon as I went to the bathroom, my Discord crashed. So you probably heard half the conversation, as so did I. But yeah, they were talking about it. Also, Serena gets taunt, just as an FYI.
Yeah, but Mental
Yeah.
Herb.
So
Thank you for the heads up, but Trick Room was the warrior I had. See, I wish I didn't say all this because he's actually my week one matchup.
yeah. And I think overall, I'm gonna comment. I think it's a solid team.
I think it's
I
a really
like
good team.
I like Fluttermane, Garchomp. I think it's solid and has tools. I unironically think you can bring Pustle and Mine in. I think it's great. Also, how can you hate Pustle and Mine in Mob Electric though? Like look at them. Look at Pustle and Mine. But yeah, apologize for the small silence. What did you rate this team, Dan?
I gave this team an 8.
You gave this team an 8,
However, I'm going to change it to 8.5.
and he's going to change to an
Oh,
8.5. 8.5 here for this team. Do we think that's high, low, or just about right? I see a 7. I see an 8 in the chat. Squirrely says thanks, Dan, for agreeing. I see a 7.3 in the chat. 7.6. I, yeah, Squirrely was the highest. He gave this a 9, but the rest staff did have it indeed lower. 7.4 was the rating staff gave it. 7.4 was the end up rating from staff here. And you don't have to blame Arrow for this one. You can blame SJ. SJ had this the lowest ranked. So blame SJ. Next up, we have Emerald Reader here with Incineroar, Pelipper, Milotic, Kingdra, Dreadnought, Vaporeon, Rotom Frost, Ogerpon Wellspring, Raichu, Galarian Slowpoke, and Ampharos. Mono Water with an Incineroar, a Rotom Frost, a Raichu, and a bit of an Electric Core. What do you want to say about this team?
Um, I mean, it's got the rain core. Bit of a different take on it. It doesn't really have the Swift Swim user that can just nuke things like Basculegion, but Kingdra and Dreadnought can both take advantage of it. Um, Milotic can stop Intimidate, and Oakmon Wellspring is a really strong Pokemon, and Raichu Lightning Rod. Um, Tier 1 Incineroar doesn't make too much sense to me. I think this team is really missing a bit of a powerhouse. And while Incineroar is great for slowing games down, being disruptive, it just seems a bit of a wasted tier 1 for me. And if we're comparing this to other rain teams that are running Chaladon, Basculegion, Urshifu, you know, I just, I don't know, I don't think it quite holds up.
Any comments? I'm gonna lucky for the obligatory comment that's coming, which is
uh, I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest. But
type chart.
ah, yeah. That's actually what I was gonna bring up.
You,
Actually, it's way too many water types, in my opinion. I think just it's you have Vaporeon, you have Kingdra, you have Milotic, Pelipper. Ogerpon, Wellspring. It's I think there's just way too many water types doing the same thing on the team.
It's like they tried to take a monotype team and patch up the water weakness, and it just doesn't work. I'm not a huge fan of this. Personally, I understand kind of what you're going for, but you have no swips and abusers other than Dreadnought. Well, I guess you have Kingdra, but meh. Milotic kind of even feels out of place. Incineroar feels out of place. Rotom Frost is a bad Pokemon. Um, Ampharos feels out of place. It's just a lot of just not for me. Um, yeah, what do you did you rate this, Dan?
I rate it a 4.5.
4.5. Do we think staff was higher than lower than a 4.5? 3 to 3.2? 4, 3.2? I can't give it a 3 because Elise has a 3. Okay. Staff has rated this one a big 3.6. So 3.6 was the staff's ranking for this one, with with me being the lowest. Sorry. Um, and Arrow being the highest. Sorry, I was not the lowest. My apologies. Blame Squirrely with the lowest. I was close, and then Arrow being the highest. Yeah, we're gonna move on to um, David Klein. Sorry, we're gonna move on to Arrow. We're back on staff combat here, and it's a big shock, guys. Staff has Ogerpon Heartflame. Swear to God, we all didn't plan on this, and then we were talking, and we're like, oh, we all kind of have Ogerpon Heartflame. So Ogerpon Heartflame it is. This team has Ogerpon Heartflame Primarina. I wonder where we've seen that before. It has Yanmega. I also wonder where we've seen that before. Terrakion, Corviknight, Ambipom, my beloved, Weirdeer, and Arrow Specialty. We have Coughing, Houndoom, Grookey, and Raging Bolt's return. What do we think about this team?
So I think this team's really good. It has a lot of options across the board. Um, there's one thing I'm going to say, and it's kind of rubbing salt into the wounds a little bit. I do think if he had Thwacky, not Grookey, this team would actually go really hard. And I think he's got, Ogerpon, for me, Heartflame Primarina is just a great core. And if you can get the speed control around it, he has Trick Room of Weird Ear, he has Tailwind of Corviknight. He can run Grassy Seed, Corviknight, he can get Grassy Glide on Ogerpon Heartflame. You can do like Calm Mind, leftover stuff. Yeah, Mega, who he used to win the whole thing last year. So I think overall it's a pretty good team.
The rubbing on to Swacky is because Swacky got sniped because I was thinking about taking Thwacky in mind, which I did. I told Dan, it's like, hey, I'm going to take Thwacky. And then Dan's like, oh, Thwacky, let me take that. And sniped it right in front of Arrow.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I
I
was
would
the other
say,
way around.
funnily enough, the same thing happened to me too. Thwacky just so happened to get sniped before I could take the chance for it myself.
um, I like this team. Again, I'm not a huge Terrakion believer, but I think it's fine on this team. I think Amton's good. Coughing's kind of underrated on this team. Because necessary Raging Bolt doesn't necessarily need its ability. Heartflame is great with its ability, but doesn't necessarily need it. It sucks to put against Primarina, but some of the other things don't mind its ability being taken away, so I think it actually fits pretty well here. Obviously, I enjoy the
I think
Arcflame, Primarina, Young Mega Core. I think Thwacky would
there's
be
also
much
the
better on this team.
I was just
Go
saying there's
ahead.
also the Heartflame, Weird Ear, Primarina, Raging Bolt, Trick'em Core.
Yep.
It makes it tougher to prep against. And then you have, like you said, yeah, Mega and Weird Ear as well. It gets Intimidate, and Arrows used it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of their tier threes, but I don't think they're bad picks whatsoever. I think it's a really solid team. Like, I think it's really solid. Sure, there's slight improvements you can make with Wacky and some other things, but I think it's really, really, really solid. And half the time you can just run like Surf or something else on Primarina, so it doesn't necessarily need its ability. Or you can also just run Moonblast. And also Houndoom's
So
here.
I assume the founding is to maybe beat up the Terrakion.
Correct.
I still think it's a really solid team across the board.
All right. What do you think staff rated this team? And change it up a little bit. What do you think staff rated it? Dan?
I reckon they gave it 7.
And what would you give this team?
I gave it an 8.
All right. Do we think 7 or 8, folks? 7 or 8. What did staff do? Welcome to the game show. What did staff do? 7, 8, lower, higher? What do we think? 7 is for Umbi. We have 7.3 from SJ, 7.4 from E. 8.9. All right, staff has rated this. The highest so far, 8.25. That's right, 8.25 staff has rated this team. So yeah, it's a pretty high score. With the low outlier being SJ on this team, and the high being not actually Arrow himself, but the high being Lucky. So 8.5. Now I also want you to put in chat below, what team do you think is better? Do you think my team or Arrow team's better? Be 100% honest. I'm curious. Same Pokemon, a little bit different routes. Which team is better? So I'm gonna let you guys put that in a comment. I just honestly want opinions. I'm genuinely curious because I think both teams are good. But what team do you guys think is better? Um, yeah, so while we wait for that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan and Lucky for the second half of the rest of this group, including Dan's whole team, as I'm going to grab something to eat. So I promise my Discord will not be muted this time, and I will pull mine up after. So if you guys want to start ahead with David Climbs, and then we'll move it down to here.
All right, cool. What do you think of this team, Lucky?
Dan Climbs. There's Torkoal. There's Indeedee Mail, Azumarill Blaziken, Decidueye Hisuian, Vikavolt, Cinccino, Politoed for Rain, Enamorous Sliggoo, and Colossal. First thing that jumps out to me is Dual Weather, which is notoriously hard to pilot in a draft format. Then you have the DD Mail for terrain support. Let me look at my notes. Um, let's see. I think it has some pretty decent offensive options in Azumarill. Let's see. I don't exactly really know how you pilot this very well, with at least as far as dual weather and just Indeedee Mail by itself.
I guess you have kind of got like a potential trick room mode of Indeedee, Torkoal, Enamorous, and maybe Colossal. Decidueye is also quite slow. But yeah, this is the team does look very tough to pilot. And I don't think I fully see the vision.
Yeah, even with a Colossal in mind, I'd wonder how you'd be able to trigger it without kind of nuking it with Azumarill.
Yeah. Um I think like Vikavolt is also quite slow. I think there's a solid trick room call. However, I do think I was going to say the team predictable. I think it can be quite unpredictable, running the dual weather. But like I think it comes back to how hard it's going to be to pilot. And yeah, I don't think I fully see the vision, and I don't think this is the strongest team we've seen.
Yeah, I also think
So
if the speed control also goes awry, I think this could be prone to getting snowballed.
yeah, or if you maybe pick up a KO, like, and you're facing down a Blaziken and their last one's Politoed, you know, I think yeah, I don't think this team is super strong. However, I do think it looks quite fun to play. I do think it has like some unpredictability.
Oh yeah,
However,
I can definitely see it winning some games.
yeah, and I think this is their first season as well. So it looks like a team they can have fun with, but I don't think it's the strongest team we've seen. I've actually rated this a 4.
That seems fair. And how would the rest of chat think that we rated it? Think some
Three
threes.
point five, 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5, 4, 3.6. Okay, so it's actually pretty very close. Like the average for staff rankings for this was 3.4.
Who was
So
the
everyone gets
lowest?
the highest and lowest.
Yeah,
Let's see.
who was the nastiest?
See, group 3. I believe the lowest was actually Squirrely. I'm not gonna say their ranking on that just because it might be a little bit hurtful, but the highest ones were actually rated at 5 from me and SJ. Just a tad squirrely, just a tad.
What did I?
SJ, I think you gave it a 3. Let me look. Decline. Oh yeah, I think you also gave it a 5.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah.
So we got Thanos Car next.
Okay. Okay, so Thanos Car's rocking Landotherian, Ninetales for Sun, Chandelure, uh, Arboliva, Swampert, Gothorita, Scovillain, Gouging Fire, which is very interesting.
Yeah, cool.
Stonejourner.
Squirrely
Yeah,
said
go
the
ahead.
stream cartoon. Yeah, there we are. Cool.
Mm.
So, what do you think about this team?
Um, let's see. I don't know if I have very strong opinions. Like, I see they're going for like a Sun Core, but I wonder how this does against opposing weather more than anything. Also, the lack of a tailwind setter or redirection also worries me.
I guess Gotharita could be used to like crap weather on the field, but then if you've got nine tails in Gotharita, you're not really putting much offense on. I think the team looks pretty solid. It's just I don't think anything stands out too much. I think there's good mons across the board. I think
Yeah,
Scovillain's a lot of fun, and
yeah.
Galleon
Even
Fire
in
too.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how exactly how effective they are in sun, even with like chlorophyll and the natural stab.
I guess you could maybe like house stuff with Galleon Fire into like Landers, but that's pretty much the only. I guess Swampert maybe as well, but that seems to be the
Yeah,
only one that are going to benefit from it. I mean,
yeah,
I think the team's solid. I think they're like, if it's piloted well, it's going to win games. But I just don't see anything like that stands out to me.
yeah, same. It's a little bit on the middle ground side to me.
Yeah, I think it's just like it's solid across the board, but it has options. I just think it'll be interesting to see how it's piloted. I think
Yeah. Um. So how would you rate the roster overall?
I gave this a 6.
6. Okay.
I think it has some
And
solid
then,
options. I think you have to respect it.
so what do you think of that team would probably make the most impact on there? At least as far as their main game plan into games.
Um, I think the strongest one just looks like setting Howl up multiple times and trying to just put multiple times just once, and then just trying to put offense on the board, or maybe setting Trick Room. I guess it's all going to be kind of matchup dependent.
Fair.
What about you?
I'm already seeing some chat ratings coming in with 4.3, 5.3, 5.2. Um, any more votes or any more score predictions for staff voting? Eh, If not, the staff were voting for Thanos cars. Roster came to about an average of a 5, just a flat 5. So staff was
I
not,
mean,
or Pat was not too far off,
yeah, I'm going to
which
be
I think,
1 second.
okay. Think we will just wait until Dan or Eltrim come back before we continue on the other three rankings for the third group.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back. I mean, my boss stuff isn't bad. It's an intimidator. I don't really see it used too often though. Are we ready to move on to Dan Chunks' roster?
I'm ready.
Okay. So for Dan Chunks, our resident king of third, or second, rather, he actually hasn't, surprisingly, drafted Goldengo this time around, instead opting for Blood Moon Ursaluna, along with a Baxcalibur, Gallade Gyarados, Iron Thorns, Salazol, Thwackey, Latios, Heatran, Venonat, and Scraggy. Um, Dan, do you have any early thoughts on this team?
So I've actually dropped um, Salazzle for Fletchinder and Gyarados for Okidogi. Um, I basically just said I wanted to just try something new, and everyone's called me out saying you've just replaced one one
Oh,
mon
it's
in
just like
Golden
I
Ring.
just did. No, he's not the
But
king of third.
but yeah, no. Basically, I just like using mons that are versatile. They can either set up or just also nukes. I think all my tier ones to three are essentially capable of just nuking things, or they can set up. And then I have the Flacky there to be a bit disruptive and give healing. But yeah, that was just my thoughts. Something then go in Tailwind with the Fletchinder starting from week two, being able to have that priority Tailwind maybe after setting up, or also having the Trick Room mode. So yeah, that was my thought process behind the team.
I think that's a lot. The Salazol to Fletchinder switch is honestly really solid. Gives you some more speed control options. I'll
Yeah, I
also
figured
say there's a
post.
lot of offense coming from this team too.
So I think I went for Fletchinder because Latios was my only Tailwind setter, and it's kind of get speed crept by a lot of things. Whereas if I can then just try and set something up and then set the Tailwind and start nuking things. And I also wanted mons that don't need to set up, that can just nuke things on their own, like Okidogi when it's in the team, can't be intimidated. It can run in Trick from Tailwind. So yeah,
It,
just went for power and versatility. And then the plan with Scraggy is just maybe like fake out to help get Trick Room up and just coaching spam.
yeah, I just see a lot of different avenues to take games with this. It's really, really hard to prep for, even looking as a competitor myself. Like, how do you prepare for both Ursaluna on the slow side and then Baxcalibur on the fast side with possibly Dragon Dance strats?
Also, Ursaluna, it can actually outspeed Fluttermane, modest Ursaluna in Tailwind.
Really?
So even though it is really slow, yeah, it hits 104. So yeah, I actually took it to like an in real life event. I went fast Ursaluna for Tailwind, and it was really good. So I obviously also
Yeah.
haven't given myself a rating.
Yeah. I'd say staff wasn't the staff wasn't too bad. Um, sorry, I had a message. How are we? How would the chat rate this? 6.8, 8, 7. Actually, the staff rankings on this were actually about 7 flat as well. So not too far off. I will need to step away for a quick moment. Just need to take care of something. I will be right back.
Cool. LT's gone to have dinner, I think. He might be here. I think he said he's just maybe muted his mic. While we're waiting, I'll introduce the next team. This is Chansey's team that are playing in their second season, I think. And they've gone for Whimsicott, Clefable, Hisuian Typhlosion, Wheezing, uh, Torracat, Lycanroc, Electros, Iron Hands, Bramblegast, and Honchkrow and Drifloon.
Hello, Squally
Hey.
here. Since everyone else has left, I guess I can take over for a bit.
Cool.
Okay, so
I've just gone through Chansey's team.
okay, cool.
So what do you think of the team?
I mean, obviously, I just missed everything you said. But I think it's okay. Like, it doesn't look great to me. Like, a lot of the picture was good. Yeah, I haven't really gone into this prepared to talk about the teams.
So I think that, for me, apart from the Iron Hands, it just looks like a pretty, I'd say, mid-Reg H team, as opposed to Reg F. Where the
Yeah,
power level's increasing.
I do agree with that. Like, you've kind of got your two big Tailwind mons in Typhlosion and Brambleghast, and then you have Iron Hands. And, like, I don't know about the rest of the team. Like, Fable's pretty good, but I don't know if it's the play here.
Is Whimsicott the only Trick Room setter as well?
Yes, it is.
Because you probably want Trick Room for Iron Hands.
Yep, ideally.
I do think they're drafting stuff they're comfortable with, because I think they used a lot of these mons last season, and they did go, I think, from 0-4 to 4-4 by the end of it, which is an impressive comeback for their first season. So I think they may be sticking to what's comfortable.
Yeah, it's very solid. So what would you give this team then?
I have given it a 4.5.
Okay, I'll give chat a little bit to put guesses in. Yes, we did acknowledge that Drifloon has TR. The question was other than Drifloon. And no, Clef does not have TR. Sorry if my mic's bad right now. I'm on mobile. I don't have much charge. I won't be staying here for long. Hopefully someone else will come back soon. We have a 5. Couple 4s, a 4.5. I can reveal we gave the staff gave this team an average of 4.2. So predictions pretty close.
Hello, chat. We are back.
Hello.
So we're gonna start with Tig, and then we're gonna try to speed it up a little bit to do this in one stream. So sorry if we skip a few finer details, but I don't want this to last 5 hours for you all. So TG-88 has the atomic ablins, which is Urshifu Rapid Strike, Farigiraf, Kilowattrel, Porygon Z, Rabombi, Pursuing Electrode, Golurk, Volcarona, Dugtrio, Gengar, and Zoroark. What do we think of this team?
It has a pretty solid balance core. You know, you have fast Tailwind and Kilowattrel, you have Frigoroth that can set Trick Room. You've got Redirection and Volcarona, and they're all, and in the Rapid Strike, there is damage output. However, I don't know if there's enough damage output. That would be my biggest concern.
Yeah, I feel like most of this team is just kind of speedsters. Like you've got Kilowattrel, you've got Rabombi, you've got Electrode. There's not really much that's like dedicated damage. It feels like the Tailwind's almost redundant because the team is just so naturally fast. And Trick Room, like again, your team's so naturally fast. You know, pretty much the only abuser is Golurk, I believe. So I don't know how I feel. I feel like too much has been invested into speed. You kind of need more damage to take advantage of that.
I feel like you
I think as
have
well, it's
Ultra Speed mode
it's
and then no damage. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Urshifu Rapid Strike goes by, almost no damage. The rest of your team's like very speedy, and you don't really have much on like gaps or speed tier wise. So I also think it's a lot of special mons minus Rapid Strike, so you might have a little trouble there as well. And also no fake out. Unless Zoroark gets it.
No.
I was thinking it has a similar where it looks like a Reg H team just with Rapid Strike on it.
Just fair enough. What would you rate
Right.
this team, Dan?
I give it a 5.
5. What do you think staff rate this team?
I reckon slightly lower, maybe like a 4.5.
0.5. I'll give chat just a few seconds here, and then we are going to reel this and get on to group number 4 here. 5.4. As soon as I see 3 of them, I'm going to go. 4 and 4. Staff has rated this a 4.8. 4.8, slightly higher than the last team. That means the top 3 teams for this is Arrow at 8.25, Sandito with a 7.4, and Dan with a 7. I will comment, while I was not here for Dan's team, I do think you've drafted this slightly better than this before. Next, we're going to go to group number 4, and we are going to start here with Sean Knoxfellows and the Liverwolf Cramorants, picking up a team of Fluttermane, Volcarona, Scrafty, Scizor, Toedscruel, Hawlucha, Wacky, Thundurus Therian, Garchomp, Coughing, and Sentret. What do we think about this team?
Sorry to interject, but I'm gonna go now. So bye, chat.
Yeah, thank you, Squirrely.
I think this team, firstly, the Fluttermane is just such a massive damage output. Volcarona is great. It can set up, it can redirect. Scrafty has Intimidate, Fake Out, and he also has the Thwacky to, you know, it doesn't get pivoting move Scrafty, but Thwacky can come in and out. Set the grassy terrain. Hawlucha gets Unburden, Grassy Seed. Thwacky setting up grassy terrain for Garchomp could be a bit of a hindrance. And then there's the Thunderous Therian, which Sean will die on the hill, is the best value Pokemon in the draft.
And I will
think
die
overall,
on the
it's
hill
also got
that it's not. Definitely not the best value.
the Coughing and Toedscruel can do some pretty nasty stuff. I think overall, this team's really solid. You know, Toedscruel also gets Trigger. So
it's pretty solid. Toedscruel needs obviously most of Coughing to benefit it. If you don't have both the modes, Toedscruel's a little eh. Fluttermane does some intense damage as well as Volcarona with the redirect for it as well. Garchomp could be hindered by the grassy terrain, so I think that might be something a little bit to work outward, but it's overall pretty solid and has some, I think, good overall tools.
and it doesn't need to run Earthquake. It can run Stomping, Dragon Claw, and like Swords Dance. and then protect.
Do you have any
So there's definitely ways to play around it.
additional thoughts you want to talk about, Lucky?
I don't know if Lucky's there in a minute.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on. What do you rate this team?
I give it 7.5.
7.5. Chat, do we think 7.5 is too high or too low, or what do we think staff ranked it? We had a 7, 6.5, 7. Anybody else? All right. Staff has given this a 6.2 is the response from staff. So 6.2 here.
A little harsh.
Seems like most of staff did a 2 and Arrow gave it a 7. Next is Jill and Dan with the Ursa Majors. Great great use of the how do you say it? Consonants. You know what I mean. The star system.
Constellations.
There you go. We have Ursulina Bloodmoon captain his team with Sneasler, Kilowattrel, Reuniclus, Houndstone, Florges, Stonejourner, the Gudra Hisui, Cinderace, Vaporeon, and Lokix.
So the Blood Moon is obviously like massive damage dealer, proper nuke. You do have the Tailwind mode, and you have Sneasler, who is fast, fake out, pretty versatile. Houndstone without sand,
Kind of sad.
unless I'm missing something. Assuming Gudra is good, and it can benefit from coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Florges, I guess, has fairy coverage. Lokix, I think, is quite underrated too, but I just, and to be fair, Cinderace actually. Cinderace is also quite underrated. It can benefit from coaching. It's just a little bit slower than Sneasler, and it can hit quite hard.
And
I think this team actually looks quite fun now that I'm thinking about it.
The only thing I'd like to mention, though, is unlike the rest of Sneasler teams, there is no manual terrain for this thing to take care of unburdened directly. So you might have to worry about that a little bit, or hitting a close combat or something like that. It has Tailwind and Trick Room options. Reuniclus Kilowattrel has Tailwind Trick Room. Overall, I think it has some solid bulk. I don't think it's as good as some of the other Sneasler teams we've seen, but it's kind of not the same as them. I think it's its own little unique thing. Overall, I think it's like solid, but I wouldn't call it like a top tier team. But I'd like to see like how it interacts. I think it can pull off some
I think
cool
it's better than the teams we've called solid already. You know, I do think Pokemon, like, there are some underused Pokemon that can do a lot of damage, but I do think, like you say, I don't think it's top tier.
Okay. What did you rate it?
I rated this a 6.5.
6.5. Do we think it's higher or lower, chat? 6.5 for your opinion and for staff.
I just got back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Yep. I believe I can stay for as long as we're ranking this group, but I will have to leave after this group is done, if that is okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, you're rating Dylan Danzig, right?
Correct.
I do want to disclaim that this group was actually drafted by Killjoy, but Dylan Dan is replacing them. And they're on their 24-hour period where they're still replacing their Pokemon. So that roster most likely won't be representative of what they will be picking after that period. Also, thank you.
Transmute this mic. I was wondering who was talking. So this team's probably going to get a bit of a revamp, I guess. I think the team still looks solid, so it'll be interesting to see what comes of it.
Apologies for a second. The staff has ranked this team a 5.4. So 5.4 for Killjoy, but it will be taken over by Dylan Dan, who will, of course, has his 24 hours to make the changes. So next we're going to go to Timp, who has one of the best logos, I think. I love the little dart monkey with the Grookey. We have Ogerpon Wellspring, Hisuian Arcanine, Comfey, Conkeldurr, Yanmega, Morgrem, Rhydon, Lando I, Ronomo, Lapras, and Dedenne.
I think this team looks really good. It's got like Trick Room and Tailwind, Yanmega and Comfey, Conkeldurr that can abuse Trick Room, Landorus that is just does so much damage, and it can be supported by Wellspring, or Wellspring can be offensive, has Intimidate. Rotom Mo, I think gives good coverage. I think the team looks really strong, and then Morgan for screens, and just to be in general disruptive. You don't even need Tailwind if you're just Thunderwave and everything.
Great. And chat, if you want to start reading leaving your ratings ahead of time, and then putting ahead of time that we can figure it out afterwards what you think us or staff rated it while we rate it. So we can just for a little bit of speed up. But I agree. The only thing that's missing is I'm not a huge fan of Rotomo as like the soul grass type for like the core, even though Ogerpon is a water grass type and you have that fire coverage. I think Comfey's a good pick here. I think Conkeldurr could work in some Trick Room shenanigans, but Comfey is your only Trick Room setter minus Morgrem to my knowledge. So it might be a
No, Morgan
little.
doesn't get it.
Oh, so it is
Just
your only
Comfey.
Trick Room setter. So it might be a little hard to get the Trick Room mode with the Rhydon, Lapras, and things up. Lando I is very good as a Rhydon counter. I'm interested to see how it works in this sort of regulation. I think it would be good against like rain teams and other stuff. Kind of interested to see how it would work in this team.
Yeah, overall, I think the team just looks really strong, especially as like if you do get that Trick Room up and you go into this bulky mode, and then Comfey just starts healing everything. And
I
from what I
agree.
remember from Regaf before in person, I know Draft is different, but Landorus was just like the best Pokemon in the format. It just does so much damage. It is frail, and that can be a bit of a downside, but
What have you
I still
rated
think
it
it's a
to?
solid. I actually rated this an 8.
Dan rating 8. I see 5.5, 7, 6.8, 6.2, 6.8, and 7.5. Staff has rated this a 6. So 6 is the staff ranking for this one. Then we're going to go to Emerus 4 with the Claudette work over the Archalon Bridge, which is a great logo for the Clodsire contractors. We have Archalon Pelipper Raincore again, Meowscarada, Hitmontop, Charizard, Decidueye Hisui, Frostlass, Clefable, the Basculegion, Clodsire, and Meowth Galarian. First thing I'm going to mention about the team is Charizard's drowning. Please, please save it. If your loved
I
one
mean,
needs to donate to the SPCA to save it from the rain, please save it.
what I'll say is that the best way to counter rain teams is to put Manual Sun up, and Charizard goes hard in Manual Sun. So it could cause people to think twice about saying it. But yeah, I still think it's a bit out of place.
Yeah, I think overall it's out of place. I do get that. I do, again, our Shadow and Pepper Bash Legion we've seen a lot before. It doesn't fake out and hit on top. It does lack redirection, minus the Fable, which I think could be a big issue. I think the Frostlass to suit and Hindra is fine. I'm not sure about the Meowth Galar here. I think it's an okay rain team. I think we've seen better, but again, I've also think we've seen worse. And
Yeah,
also,
I'd agree.
make sure for y'all to leave your ratings starting ahead of time so we can go ahead once we're done talking about them.
I feel like this team is a lot similar to one we previously rated that had a very similar core, even with the Rainzard. My memory is not really serving me which one it was though.
Yeah. And yes, I did mention Clefable does have follow me. I apologize. But no, I think it's solid. Again, I'm not a huge Masquerada fan. I think I've said this. But I think it's overall decent. What did you rate this, Dan?
I gave this a 6.5.
6.5. It looks like chat is going 6.7, 7.5, 7. Anything else in chat? Looks like those are about the ranking thing. Staff has rated this a 6.8. So 6.8 here for the rank team. Next, we're going to go to Lucky's team. So before you claim staff bias or anything, leave those ratings here now before staff may or may not show some bias. We have, of course, the Castelia City EVs here with, again, another staff with Ogerpon Heartflame. We have Reggie Drago, Gallade, Porygon Z, Fletchinger, Empoleon, Scyther, Screamtail, Crocodile, Rotomosh, and the Grookey. What do we think of this, Dan?
I think it's really solid. I think it's really good across the board. I think it has, Fletchinder just setting Tailwind straight away for Half-Lane, Reggie Drago, Gallade. These are all absolute nukes. Some of the damage it can like output is crazy. And then you have the Screen Tail to just be really disruptive and annoying, which I think is a really like fun pick. You have Intimidate on Crocodile. Cypher can set Tailwind as well, or be a bulky, if you like. Porygon Z as well can just absolutely nuke things. I think in general it's a really solid team. And then you have Gallade as a Trick Room Spell.
I'm gonna be a little bit of a devil's advocate here. I'm okay with Glade being a Trick Room setter, but it being your only Trick Room setter, it being a bit frailer concerns me. Yes, you do have Reggie Draco who can run slow and Polion, etc. But I do think in general, unless you're very annoying with Screamtail or whatever, you might struggle against Trick Room. I do like the Reggie Drago, and I think it's really placed here. And Glade is one of the best wide guard setters, so you have one less wide guard to deal with it. I've said this. I'm not a Porygon Z fan. I understand it hits hard with things, but I'm not a huge fan. Otherwise, I think all the picks are really solid. I like the Crocodile. I think strong ground types with Intimidator definitely needed in this format, and we've seen him have great success. Scyther, I think, is a little bit out of place, but I do know you've traded it since, so I'm not going to harm you too bad, but I don't think it's necessarily needed the two Violate Tailwind setters with Cypher and Fletchinger, but overall, I think it's a pretty solid team. Screamtail is always going to be annoying, Heartflame's solid, and I think it's just genuinely a solid team.
Yeah, I did wind up trading the Scyther for a Stonejourner coming up week 2.
And we have our ratings coming in 7.5, we have 6.7, 7, 7. So a lot of sevens are being down. And yes, VGCDL is the official sponsor of Oakmont Heartflame. Well, not all of them, but most of them. Staff rated you a 6.25 was your final rating. 6.25. So for everyone that says that staff is always rated first, the answer in this case is no. Staff was indeed not rated first.
Just have to prove them wrong.
All right. Next, we have Torian Blackheart and the Battletons Brigade with we see a Chi-Yu, Clefairy, Hisuian Zoroark, Azumarill, Donphan, the Rabska, of course, Appleton, Goldengo, Slowbro Galar, Scrafty, and Ampharos. What do we think of this team, everyone?
The team definitely has the offense. It can just belly drum, follow me, either Zuma or Clefairy lead. Zoroark Hisui is such an annoying Pokemon, and Chi-Yu does so much damage. Goldengo, I personally don't think is the strongest in this format, but it's still a really great mon. You have got a Trick Room mode. I think it seems solid. There's not really any Tailwind.
Mm-hmm. I think
it's just going to fall to that. It's solid, but it's not top tier.
I think it's solid. I would like a tail room option on this team. and maybe a physical attacker. It's insanely special attack heavy, but Chiyu, Golden Go can definitely deal damage to teams, like, and threaten them, especially with redirection from Clefairy. Pursuing Zoroark's always annoying. You could trick with that Pokemon. Hyper Voice does a ton of damage as well. Rapsco is a decent trick room option, but I think overall just lacking, it's solid, but lacking probably a tailwind setter and just maybe a top tier physical attacker.
I agree.
So we have chat doing 5.8, 6, 6.3. So they don't like this as much as Lucky's team for evidence. And this team was rated a 6.4. So actually a bit higher than the team of Lucky. Do we think that's right or wrong? Let me know in chat. And then if you guys want to start, again, like I said, try to put the ratings ahead of time. That'd be appreciated. So next we have Don Bozo. Again, we have Tatsuya Dondozo and then Weavile, Hydra Apple, Articuno, Dachshund, Ditto, a Whimsicott, Grafaiai, Vespiquen, and Litten. What do we think about this team?
I don't want to go against Don Bozo again. That's as much as I will say about that. But yeah, I feel like the team after Don Bozo really, really falls apart. Like,
I would agree. We have Articuno with no manual snow, with no automatic snow. Weavile's just kind of here. Hydrap's just kind of chilling. Dashbomb's chilling. Ditto's there to stop people from copying Dondozo. Whimsicott, I just don't think makes any sense on this team. I'd like to see like another tier 1 to help facilitate the Dondozo, maybe. Grafaiai, they have 2 Prankstermons and Litten and Best Queen. It just looks like it's Tatsugiri, Dondozo, and a bit all over the place.
yeah.
Any last thoughts, Dan?
Oh, I agree. I agree with what has been said.
All right.
Don't
What
see
is your
the vision for the team.
What's your rating?
My rating is a 4.
4. All right. I see 1 because Dondozo. I see 3, 3, 2, 3, 2 with some of the ratings. Staff has given this the first rating under 3, a 2.8. Staff has given this a 2.8. And again, it doesn't mean that the player can't outplay or the team can't be changed or we think the team isn't going to do well, but staff has given this a 2.8. The last member of Group 4 is Gavin199 with the Wochen Warriors. Live Wochen reaction as Wochen's on the team. We have Indeedee Sizebam with Indeedee Iron Crown. We have Neuburn, Pinner Kirchen, Shiftry, Toxpex Heatran, Iron Valiant, Scovillain, Famously Spicy Extract at NAIC, and Arbok. What do we think about this team?
Not much damage output. You know, you've got the Iron Crown, but everything else, you know, Heatran maybe. Valiant's more supportive. I don't think there's too much damage output.
I think this team's relying on Iron Valiant to be a lot more damage heavy. Also, Pinurchin, we have double terrain that doesn't work.
Terrain.
I get the electric terrain. It's also good with Iron Crown and Iron Valiant. Sometimes it doesn't work. But it is nice to have the double terrain crown so you don't have to rely on expanding force. I think it's very comitative to both maneuvering between the electric terrain and psychic terrain and seeing how to be able to switch in and out and to best benefit this team. I'd like some other offense minus the Iron Crowd, Heatran, and Iron Valiant, but I think this team does have the potential to scare a little bit of teams that aren't prepared necessarily between the switching of the 2 terrains. Although it's probably just a little awkward to deal with, but I think overall it could be a little sneaky team, but I don't think it's as solid as some of the teams we've seen. It seems a bit more clunky.
I agree. I rated this a 5.
Rated a 5. Okay. I've seen some 4s, some 5s from chat around the same way. This team was rated a 5.2 from staff. So 5.2 is the staff rating. This means there's no group that got a 7 in this group. Emirus has 6.8 and is leading the top. So overall, there was nothing minus the one that had like below a 3. It was all in the 6 to 5 range from staff. We're going to start here with Group 5, and we're going to start with the Kitakami Blood Moons from M. Hooney Mooney, however you would like to pronounce it. We have Ursulina Blood Moon, Amoonguss, Wochen, Fire Tauros, Swampert, Rabombi, Scyther, Farigiraf, Latias, Ditto, and Pikachu. All right, go ahead and place what you guys think ahead of time. This has a clear Trick Room with Blood Wound. Farigiraf, although minus that, and Wochen doesn't have amazing things for it, although the Blood Moon does do a pack. I think this team lacks a huge amount of damage, unfortunately. It has Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Amoonguss and Wochen are very passive. Farigiraf's very passive. Pikachu isn't going to really do much. Rabombi's just kind of awkward here. It's a Tailwind setter, but it doesn't really do enough damage and is pretty frail. I guess Tauros Blaze has like the Intim support, but overall, and you do have a Firewater Grass core, but overall, I think a little bit lack of damage, and it's just a little awkward to play.
I think Latias as well is the what's the word? I know Latios got taken, but it's the less offensive one
It's more defensive, yes.
as well.
I think just
Yeah,
a
I think
little
running any of the
defensive.
sort of ruin like Wochen, you're always gonna have to position it perfectly. And while this team is a bit more special heavy, I think it's gonna struggle to deal damage.
I think it will struggle definitely with physical damage and damage overall. What did you get this team?
I give it 6.
We have a 6 coming out from Dan. I see 4, 5.3, 4 from chat. We gave this a 4.5 from staff. 4.5 is about middle of the road between you all, us, and Dan. I think it's a fair assessment here. And then we're going to go to the Deep Sea Duskulls here. I'm not going to be able to pronounce the French name. I'm sorry. Amalgamon, I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize. We have Dragonite Chenpao with Clefairy, which is scary. We have Iron Leaves, Tinkaton, Pinurchin, Inteleon, Blaziken, Chimecho, Gumshoes, and Palisand. What do we think of this team? And see you, SJ. Good night, and make sure to leave your ratings.
This team is got a lot of offense, and I think Clefairy is a good way to just balance out the teams and support. What we haven't mentioned yet is that Clefairy gets after you. So if while this team wants to go fast, wants to go hard, if it does get Trick Room set up, Clefairy can just reverse the speed order like that.
That's true.
I'm a believer in Iron Leaves. I think it's good. I think Tinkerton's good on this team. I don't think it has the most damage going for it, and I think you know what mons are going to want to come every week, but you have to respect the strategy. I think.
I think it's a
And I think it's
classic
solid. I think it's
team. I think it's classic
yeah, I think it's
Chenpao
solid.
Dragonite redirection, which is always going to be solid. Have some decent tools as well in the Pinarch and Iron Leaves, even though I don't believe in it. Blaziken, yet to see if that'll perform for you. Tickaton could be interesting on this team. I think with After You are okay with Trick Room, but you probably don't prefer it. Yeah, I think it could be solid with some interesting pieces. So Pokemon I personally think could be a little better. I'm just not sure if it has the full support of like a top team, but I think it's solid.
Agree. So I gave this a 6.5.
6.5. All right. 6.5. In chat, I'm seeing 6, 4, 6, 6. Staff has given this a 6.5. It's around the money. And then I want to thank Lucky for coming in and tuning the stream. I know you have to go, so
Yep.
Thank you for helping, and I hope you have a good rest of your night as well.
Yeah, of course. It's fun to be here.
All right.
But I do have to run for a bit, so I will see everyone later. Dan and Eltrim can hold the fort very well.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next thing, C3 Cali, C3 Ellie, C3 Lily, with the Zapeka Pikachu's. English is not being a friend right now. We have Urshifu Rapid Straight, Excalibur, Articuno Galar, Krookodile, Iron Thorns, Orthworm, Stantler, Ogerpon Harpwing. See, I told you all staff doesn't have Ogerpon Harpwing. Scraggy, Salazzle, and Clodsire. Leave those ratings down below. As Dan, what do you think?
I think the team is really strong. I just think Ogerpon Heartflame in general is probably one of the best tier ones you can get. And then there's Baxcalibur, which I think is probably one of the best tier twos you can get. Iron Thorns is probably one of the best tier fours. Salazzle and Scraggy can support the team. Stantler gets Intimidate, Trick Room. I think the Crocodile, I guess, makes sense with Intimidate, but I think the Articuno is really out of place here. But I guess there does need to be some special coverage on this team as well. I just don't know if Articuno is how strong it's going to be.
This team's very physically scary. It hits really hard with the Rapid Strike, Excalibur, Iron Thorns, Crocodile with the Intim, and Earthworm to cover up some of those ground moves. Heart Flame's always a good Pokemon. I think it could be used in anything. My problem is you have like no special attack, and I'm not sure Articuno Galar is it. I would hopefully I get you maybe wanted a Tailwind user, but I think you could probably trade in when you're down there, like for Clodsire is for a different Tailwind user and get a bigger special attacker. But overall, I think this team's very solid. Just missing some special attacking.
I agree.
What did you rate this?
So I give this a 7.
A 7. We have Umbi, of course, because Backstory saying 10, but we have 7.5, 8.5, 7, 7.8, 6.25, 6.8, 5.8. Staff has given this a 7.5. 7.5 here for the staff. Then we have Casual Pizza, of course, with the Chiyu Cooks, meaning, of course, Chiyu is on the squad. We have Chiyu, Latios, Hisui, and Zorak, Hitmontop, Electrode Hisui, Furret, Cryogonal, Primarina, Illumise, Poltergeist, and Trapinch.
This team looks kind of the opposite, very specially scary. You have Primarina, Latios, Chiyu, Zorok.
Yeah, this team needs some physical offense.
Like
Hitmontop is opposite.
Yeah, it's very scary, and there's a lot of special pressure, especially with the I can never pronounce it, Illumise. But Tailwind, Fake Tears, it has the potential to just nuke things. Furret gets Follow Me, Hitmontop gets Intimidate, Fake Out. I think the team there's 6 or 7 that look really good, and I just think everything else looks a bit out of place.
Yeah, I guess Hitmontop's there for like wide guard plus Fake Out. The problem is you do lose to Snarl. If you don't have Hitmontop, Snarl does just destroy this team. But I think overall it has very solid, scary special attackers. But it doesn't have a lot of bulk minus Primarina. And it does scare me that there's no physical attackers. So I think even with the Illumise Fake Tears things, I think it's a little harder to pull off than the other team we just watched or looked at. But I still think it's very solid.
So I give this a 7.
Got a 7. I see 7, 5, 5.5, and 6. 6.75 was the staff choice. 6.75. So next we have some more staff that didn't draft Rain this time. Squirrely, congrats for not drafting Rain. Everybody say congrats. We have the Cambridge Camera-Ups grabbing Gouging Fire, Sinastria, Azumarill, the Iron Treads, Mesprit, Lycanroc Duskform, Frostmoth, Kilowattrel, Scrafty, Blissey, and Klefki. What do you think about this team?
There's a lot of scary mons in this team. I think the support is there, and I think a lot of these mons need to be like enabled by the support. I think the team is just solid across the board, and we know Squirrely's a great player, so he's definitely got some tricks up his sleeve. I think the team it's a very good balanced team. Nothing stands out to me as broken or super terrifying, but just across the board, you don't know what six are going to come each week. Everything has potential, and there's the right balance between good support and good attackers.
I think it has good support with Scrafty, the Kilowattrel Tailwind. I'm not a Mesprit enjoyer, so L. Has good support for Trick Room. My only problem with the team is Gouging Fire does sometimes like to run more supportive Breaking Swipe sort of setup sets, and I don't feel like you can afford to run that. I think like your Gouging Fire is your main damage here, along with Treads and things. So I think like more
I don't know. I
setup
think
and
Pal
less of
could.
that's going to be coming. But I'm interested to see how like Squirrely manages it, because I think if it's well managed, it'd be good. And also the lack of a huge special threat is a bit concerning.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential. I think it's a lot of solid mons across the board, but we'll have to see how he pilots it. I rated this 7.
All right, 7. I see 6.8. I see 6.5, 7, and a 6 in the chat. And the debate of whether Counting Fire is +1 or -1 to teams. This was given a 7, straight 7 by staff. So solid rating here. We have Zaffer with the Minnesota. Jesus, that's not English. Missouri Miniors with a cool logo. I really enjoy the logo. We have Archaludon Polytoad, so welcome to rain but no Pelipper. Hydra Apple, Dusclops, Espathra, Fletchinger, Riolu, Mousehold, first Mousehold of the season, the worst Basket Legion, Dedenne, and Gothita. Which, again, let's not draft it unless you're in Group A. What do you think of this team?
In my opinion, Polytoad is worse than Pelipper because Pelipper gets Tailwind. However, it's cool to see it being drafted. Fletchinder gives that priority Tailwind. I think it's cool to see Basket Legion feet. Like it's worse than the male one, but it's still good and it's a better value. Not better value, but it's a more value pick. Dusclops for a Trick Room mode. Riolu can do like prankster stuff. I think it's one of the weaker rain teams. However, I do still think it's a cool team.
I think it's one of the weaker rain teams, but it does have a lot of modes outside of rains.
Yeah,
I don't
I
like
think it's one of the more
punishing people
balanced ones.
for a lot of NFEs, but there is a lot of NFEs. But I doubt Viola or Gothia is running the Violite anyways. I'm thinking it's Sash. I'm not a huge fan of Dusclops on this team. I think a better short group setter could be set. I think overall, though, it's pretty solid. The Mousehold, I'm interested to see if it's only going to be used for beat up strategies or maybe some more offensive things. Although I don't know if you would need to actually spend the tier 1 points on a Mousehold instead of getting like Sneasler or something, another beat up mon. So I'm thinking you could eventually just change the Mousehold and another to a better or more suiting tier 1 or supportive tier 1 and another beat up. But overall, I think it's a decently solid team. I wouldn't say it's as solid as some of the stuff we've seen though. But what did you give this?
So I gave this a 6.
6. I see a 6. I see a 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. So a lot of the chat thinking of 5.5. This was given a 5.25 from staff. So 5.25. Next, we have Isim for Yamiko, or Yamiko with the Strasbourg Swallows. We have Ogerpon Wellspring, Iron Valiant, Overquill, Bisharp, Weird Ear, Oricorio, Dugtrio, the Boulder, Volcarona, Rotom Frost, and Veluza.
This team is pretty solid across the board as well. I think Volcarona has been used by them like it's kind of like their version of what Goldengo was to me. I think they draft it every season. It has some really cool synergy with Oricorio, Weird Ear, Intimidate, Good Trick and Recessor. Bishop with Defiant can run Eviolite. Iron Valiant can run Coaching while also being a bit more disruptive. And then there's Wellspring too. And I guess Wellspring can do a good job of protecting the Volcarona.
I think it protects the Volcarona well. I think Coaching Boulder and coaching Wellspring's definitely scary. You gotta watch out for
Yeah,
Encores and other stuff coming out from Valiant. I like the Overkill utility with Intimidate here, and you're not really particularly ground weak. It could help also in that Rain matchup, even though you have Wellspring. It's well positioned in the Rain, so Rain doesn't really affect it. Weird Ear's there to discourage the Trick Room. Bisharp is there with a Violate, but we haven't really seen it used particularly well, so I'm not a fan of it. Of course, you have the Horia Classic Dancer strats, which is always solid. Dugtrio is interesting with Arena Trap on this team. Not quite sure, but I'll leave it up to them. But I think overall it's a pretty solid team, and it's something they're familiar with.
yeah. So I gave this a 7.
Give it a 7. I see 7. I see 6. I see 6.5 here from the chat, and 6.75 is the rating from staff. So pretty solid overall team. Would agree. We have Furious Gold here with the Indeedee Armor Rouge. We have Mimikyu, Raichu, Empoleon. We have Lurantis. We have the Honchkrow. We have the Sneasler, Komodo. We have a Fletchling, and we have a Minior. So we have a size span team, but no Iron Crowd, bringing back the Armor Rouge from the early days. What do we
See,
think?
Armouge can give a Trick Room mode, and it has Flash Fire, or it can do. I'm sure there's something here that's gonna be running that U-turn or that switch move to activate a weakness policy. It does have things that you really have to be scared about. Sneasler can run on Burden. Komodo can set up with Throat Spray and be really scary. Mimikyu as well gives you a Trick Room mode, and they do have Fletchling for that sort of nuclear tailwind. I think it's one of those ones where there's like 6 or 7 really good mons, and then there's 4 mons that are they kind of just feel a bit like filler, as opposed to serious threats or mons that synergize. But I do think that their main strategy does need to be respected.
I 100% agree. I think it's pretty strong with Sneasler on Burden here. Komodo's set of potential, not only specially, but it could be physically as well. So they do have a decent lack of physical damage. I think with the Sneasler and the Komodo, you could see physical damage. And I feel like this team has to be respected. I think
Yeah, I think
overall
this
it's
team has a
a
lot of
respectable
potential.
team, and it's pretty solid.
And it looks like it looks like an absolute nightmare to prep for.
I agree. What did you give this team?
I gave this team a 7.
7. I think that's a pretty solid and fair rating, I would say so. I see 6s, 6.5. I see 7, 7.5, 6.75, 7. This team was given a 6.5 from staff. So a solid
I do just think
6.5.
Raichu, Empoleon, and Lurantis just seem a bit out of place. You could chuck some mons in that support the team a bit more.
We have
But yeah, I think it's
a
solid.
difference of opinion. We had 8 as the highest, and we had, sorry, I lied. We had a 7, 6, 6, 6s and 7. So 2 staff rated 6, 2 staff rated 7. So it's that 5 rating. We're going to move now on to group 6 here. Starting up with group number 6, we have Amphibian with Archaludon, Pelipper Rain. We have Amoonguss, Palafin, Arboliva, Floatzel, Apom, the Charjabug, Arcanine, Zebstrika, and Bronzor. What do we think of this team?
So Floatzel is a cool Swift user we haven't seen yet, and it's a lot more budget. However, I don't think they've utilized their other slots that well. Palafin is kind of your main water type rain abuser, and we've already said tonight that like Palafin isn't the best rain abuser. I believe they're only Trick Room set as Bronzor, so
correct.
I don't think it's the most reliable Trick Room mode, and this team actually looks like it could be quite good in Trick Room with the Amoonguss, with the Arboliva, even with the Charger Bug. Arcanine has good Intimidate. I think this team is once again one of the weaker rain ones, and where it has the potential for the other mode, it doesn't. I don't think the other mode is that good either.
I actually a little bit disagree. I think this team's actually very solid. I know that's probably going to be a very unpopular, but I actually think this team's pretty solid. I like the Palafin here, actually, surprisingly. I think it's actually pretty good in this. It's more of an old school like balance Palafin rain, which I think is a lot better. I think the Arcanine actually does fit surprisingly. You don't actually have to go straight to. I don't think you have to go rain mode because I think you can go just balance like Palafin Amoonguss Arcanine as well. I think the Floatzel's a cool take, and I'm never going to ding points for an Ambipom with Fake Out. I think the lack of Trick Room tools, though, is probably what hurts this team. I think I would like to see a
I think if
better
there was a
Trick Room option.
strong setter, yeah,
Yeah,
if there was
strong
like a
setter.
good setter, I think this team would like go from what I've rated him as 6 to probably like a 7 because it has that legit second mode.
Mm-hmm. I'd wonder if like getting rid of Arbaliba for a strong setter and getting a different tier 6 might be a good call. Yeah.
Because it does seem there that they are a little bit committed to this rain mode.
Yeah.
And also Amoonguss for me is just, it can, someone's going to put safety goggles on every week.
All right. What is your ranking?
6.
We have a 6 ranking. Somebody said a 2.8. Somebody said a 7. I horrifically disagree with the 2.8. I think around 6, 7 is perfectly fine for me. And 7.25 was the rating for staff. So a bit on the higher end, actually. 7.25. We have Rukale with the Zora Tricksters. We have Fluttermane for Rigorath, Typhlosion, Overquill, Toedscruel, Zora, Ditto, Torn Incarnate, Blaziken, Pikachu, and Fortress.
Obviously Fluttermane, you can just go Tailwind Fluttermane and dish out a lot of offense. And you do have Frigoroth, so you do have a Trick Room mode. Typhlosion Hisui, you're going to have to, you can go Sunny Day, Tornadoes, Scarf, Typhlosion. The only thing I'd say is it does seem like it doesn't really, it lacks a bit of stability. Like, I feel the strategy is a little bit gimmicky and I can't really tell what they're going to be trying to do each week, which can be a positive, but at the same time, if you prep for a Tornadoes Typhlosion lead and then just a Fluttermane Tornadoes lead, I can't really see other strategies beyond that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's actually okay, solid, but it's missing a little bit. I'd agree with most you say. Tornadoes could set rain or sun with the Overquill, but I'm not quite a huge fan of it on this team. I think there could be other value. Fluttermane's always going to be solid, and I'm just not a Toedscruel fan, especially when it still has its ability. But I think it's like not super solid, but it's not like bad by any means either.
And it's also Fluttermane, so yeah, I've given this a 6.5.
6.5. I see 6, 6.5, 6s from the chat. 5.5 is staff's opinion. 5.5. And then we have Keanu now. Keanu's team is the Black City Bolts with, of course, Raging Bolt, another kind of staff theme. We have Spectrier, Magmar, Tornadius Therian, Florges, Mesprit, Hisui Sneasel, that's my guy, Ogerpon Wellspring, Iron Treads, Gumshoes, and Swallows.
So I actually really like this team. It has so much it can do. It can just go into a Trick Room mode with Mesprit and try and get the most out of the Raging Bolt. Spectria you can do Follow Me, Sap a Nasty Plot. There's the Draining Kiss set, or it can just start nuking things and start snowballing. You have Florges, which can synergize with Radiant Bolt with Symbiosis. Gumshoes has adaptability. It can be a solid Trick Room mon. I think the team actually has quite a lot of depth and quite a lot of good support. You have Magmar as well. For redirection, you can do Sneasel, Hisui, coaching into Ogerpon. So I think I do like this team a lot.
I agree. I was considering building my team actually around Spectre. I think it's an underrated Pokemon. I'm very excited to see how Keanu uses it. He may accidentally get it bumped up to tier 1, so you can blame him. Magmar is really solid on this team. I love the redirection it brings. I think it's much needed for this team, with especially Bolt and Spectre. Ogerpon Wellspring, I think, is well positioned too. to protect Magmar with the water moves as well. Iron Treads is pretty solid on this team. I'm not a Gumshoes or Swalot fan, but I think besides that, the team's very solid. I'm not sold on Torn T, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, Tornadus is the one that looks out of place to me, but you know,
I think it's solid.
Tailwind Seller.
I think it's a very solid team. And I think Keanu,
Yeah,
knowing
same.
Keanu, is going to do really well with it, unless he just decides to 2-minute prep for everything and forget his EVs. What did you rate this?
So I gave this an 8.5.
8.5, very solid, very above average rating for you. I see 7, 7.2, 7.5 here. And staff, surprisingly, is given a 6.75. I think that's a little low. I'm not quite sure what I rated it, but that's a little low, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely
I
a
think it
little
just
low.
would
I might have
like.
rated this a little lower. I don't remember particularly. I think it's a little. I
I
think it
think
should
this
at least
team
be a 7.
could really. I think this team just would benefit from just faster / priority Tailwind. Because if you get that Spectre set up, I guess Spectre is quite fast anyway, so maybe not. But if you get the Raging Bolt set up, you want them to make sure they're going first each time.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Alright,
you
we
bring in a
have
Tornadus Ferian and it just gets KO'd by something.
true. We have Hot
But
Goth Summer with the it's a logo. With Torkoal Gothitelle, Salt, Hisuian Sorark, Eggs, a Charizard that's not in rain, Scyther, Screamtail, Great Tusk, Lapras, and Ampharos.
I really like this team.
I also am a pretty big fan.
This team, so you've got the Executor who can, run that Chlorophyll, Sleep Powder, but it can also be a Trick Room setter, it can run Harvest. Charizard just abuses the sun, especially for a tier 4. Torkoal can be a Trick Room Sweeper, or it can run Eject Pack stuff. Great Tusk is just an absolute nuke in sun. And then you obviously have the Gothitelle, Screamtail stuff. I think the team just looks really fun. I don't think it's necessarily. I think it's going to take a lot to pilot it well, but I think it looks really fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they pilot it.
I agree. I think it's a fun team to pilot. I think it's pretty solid. The fact, though, that if it doesn't get sun up, it might be a little weak to other rain teams and other things. It's also a Perish Trap team. So basically, they took what Group 8 wanted and actually accomplished it. So I want to see if they lean more into that mode or more of the sun mode. I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch. I think they should lean more into the sun annoying mode, but you could see a Wolfecon Perish some action here without Koraidon. Yeah, but overall, I think it's pretty solid, and I like the Executor pick.
I mean,
This person is
if
definitely
you
a
was
Wolf
to lead,
fan. I can tell you that.
if you was to lead Torkoal Charizard and just pick up 2 KOs, you can just Perish stall your way up the rest of the game. So yeah, I like the team a lot.
What do you have?
I gave this a 7.5.
7.5. I see 7, 7, 7.8. And yes, this would be funny if him and BP were in the same group. That'd be really funny. But they are not. And Staff gave this a 6.75. I think this and Keanu is a bit low. I'm going to be genuinely honest. But 6.75 is what Staff gave. I think I gave this a 7, to my knowledge. Next, we have Cruiser, the Detroit Darkrai, with the Chen Pao, Volcarona, Comfy Rhyperior, Empoleon Weirdier, Thwackey, Urshifu Rapid Strike, a Bellibolt, a Scraggy, and a Palossand.
This is actually another really good team, I think. You have the offensive mode.
Mm-hmm.
You have the redirection that can also set up. Comfy, Trick Room, Tailwind, Weirder, Intimidate, Trick Room, Wacky for support.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be Cruiser. I don't know if Cruiser's listening. I think this is unironically the best team you've drafted. So, I like Chen Pao Rapid Strike. I think it's an interesting combo. I want to see how it does. Volcarona is actually, I think, pretty well positioned on this team with the Comfy to heal it up a bit. I think Rhyperior is also decently solid with the Weirdy Trick Room option. Bellibolt's an interesting Pokemon. Not quite sure how it fits, but I don't mind it. Thwackey is low-key, I think, kind of a good Pokemon here. It could heal this Volcarona up, this Rhyperior up as well, and this Rapid Strike, because only one of the Rapid Strike or Chen Pao can hold Sash. I think it's actually a unique take on the Chen Pao team where it's not just Dragonite spam. Of course, everyone's going to ask where the E-Speed is, but I don't necessarily think you need E-Speed with Chen Pao, but I think it's very nice to have. I think it's just a solid overall team. Like, sure, there's nothing
So I gave this.
super special, but I think it's solid.
So I gave this an 8.
An 8, I think that's a fair assessment. I know I rated it a 7. I see 7, 7.8, 7.5, 7, 8, 8.5. I do agree Palisand upper comes. Maybe that's the Pokemon to switch. Staff has given this a 7. So solid 7, and I think a good draft showing for a cruiser. Next, we have Pavnik 7 with the Rillaboom Primarina Arcanine Hisui Firewater Grass Tour. We have Meowstic Male Oranguru, Lycanroc Dusk, Dragalge, Galvantula. We have a Sneasler, a Dodrio, and a Lokix. I like the Firegrass Water Core. It's a really, really good, strong Firegrass Water Core here.
Yeah.
And I think
and you have the
Sneasler as
with
well
the
with the
grass.
Rillaboom. I think it's a solid team. I think this group has probably some of the most solid, if not all, solid drafts. I think it's pretty impressive.
I think I've got Group 6 as like the strongest group.
I think we do as
in
staff
terms of
overall as
teams.
well for drafts. I get the Lycanroc Dust might be a little out of place here, and Dodrio is just bad, but I think everything else is pretty actually well sorted. Galvantula maybe is a little awkward, but I think it's good.
I guess it's another form of speed control, but the thing is with the Rillaboom, you could lead Rillaboom, Oranguru, Fake Up, Trick Room, and Rillaboom could just be running Life Orb, Woodhammer, Instruct, Woodhammer, and you could generally pick up 2 KOs like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think this team is good in and out. Trick Room, Primarina is just a great Pokemon. And then Arcanine as well. Can pick things off, it can be supportive.
I agree.
So yeah, I like this team.
What do you rate it?
I rated this a 7.
I think 7 is solid. I see 7.5, 7.5, 8, 7.5, 6.5, 7, 7. And this is a 7.5 by staff. So staff agree, 7.5. Very, very well done. Then we have Toast 19 here with Seviper Shine Sprites. Shout out to Super Mario Sunshine. We have Iron Bundle, Iron Moth. We have Gastrodon, Tinkaton, Pinkerchin, Hawlucha, Raichu, Alolan, Sableye, Latias, Masquerain, and Seviper. A lot of Iron Mods.
Yeah. I don't think Bundle is the best value tier 1. And it does have the Pincurchin, which is quite cool, and it does synergize well with the Future Paradox and Hawlucha as well, and the Alolan Raichu. Sableye to be disruptive. There's just for me, it lacks like damage, because if that like Moth is really frail, Bundle's really specially frail. If you lose one of them, I'm not fully sure.
Outside of Gastrodon.
Yeah.
I think these games are going to be very quick, and I think he's going to be very, very reliant on electric terrain, which is my problem. I think it's still a lot very one-dimensional with like electric terrain, Hawlucha, Bundle, Iron Moth. If you have just somebody overwrite that terrain, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble. I think it's a lot of support moms as well over.
Yeah, I think it needs a bit more damage. I would give this a 6, I think.
I think you just plan for Iron Bundle, Iron Moth, and Pinarchin, and you could probably find a way to break this team. But I think it's okay, but I think there should be some changes to maybe some more offensive Pokemon to support Bundle and Moth, but I think it's a decent team. And you rated it again, I'm sorry?
A 6.
A 6. I see 5.5, 6, 4.5, 5s. Staff has rated this a 5. It's probably the lowest in this group, but still respectable.
We have another staff member with Firepon.
Here we go, guys. Staff member with Ogerpon Heartflame. Just bring it on in the comments. I swear it was not a plan. Just come on. You can go ahead. We have Ogerpon Heartflame, Latias Scrafty, Rotom Wash, Fletchinder, Morgrem, Mismagius, Lando I, Cobalion, Luminion, and Arbok.
I think this team's really good. I think
It's solid.
it has the right amount of support and it has good value support. It has some nukes in terms of Latios, Firepon, and Landorus.
Mhm.
You can do sort of beat up stuff with Scrafting to Cobalion, which is a little bit more niche. But overall, I think this team's really solid.
I think it's a solid team. I don't think it does something like amazingly well, but I don't think it does anything amazingly awful either. I think it's solid. I think it has different ways you can play it. I wouldn't say it's a top tier team. I wouldn't say it's a low tier team. I think it's just solid. It has the fake out support. It has Rage Powder. It has Heart Flame. Good Tailwind. Has some screens. Has some potential setup. I think it's a solid team overall. I'm just not a huge
I
Cobalion
think
fan.
actually this where we say it's solid but not top tier. I think this is closer to top tier and it is solid.
I think I'm
I
going
think
to actually
Halflame is such a
disagree
great
with
tier
you
one.
on that one. I think this is
Latios and
personal
Landorus,
more than
thanks to
solid.
Tailwind.
But I'm interested to see, what did you rate this and everybody else rated it? I think I'm probably a
I
little bit
gave
lower than most people on this team.
I gave it an 8.
I see an 8. I've seen 7, 7.5. I've seen 6. I've seen 6.5. Stat gave this a 7, so it's right in the middle of the 6 and the 8 sort of range. So kind of just right in the middle, which is, I think, fair. That means the top draft was Pavnik 7 at 7.5, and the lowest was only Toast at 5, which is a very high average for this group. We have group number 7 here, and we're going to start with Hail Hydrapple, or Weaver here. We have Iron Hands, Farigiraf, first Iron Hands we've seen in a while, Hydrapple, Araquanid, Orthworm, Pincurchin, Clodsire, Heatran, Clefable, Ditto, and Cramorant.
So this is very hard triggering. It's strong, but it's quite one-dimensional, I think.
Its Iron Hands carry us in damage, and pray we have enough. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, the
Hydra
only
can
other
do
real
some
damage
respectable
is
damage.
Heatran.
Heatran can do respectable damage. Besides that, it's a lot of support around Iron Hands. It's very
Heatran's
Iron
also not the
Hands support.
slowest.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Heatran's
I think this.
mid-speed. It's not super slow, but it's not super fast. I just think it's just a
It's just too
lot of
one-dimensional.
support. I think it's too much support and not enough damage. And
I
it's not
agree.
really spread damage either, if you think about it. It doesn't really have spread moves. Iron Hands is all single attacking moves. There's not really any spread moves
Only
besides
Heatran,
Hyper
really.
Voice on Farigiraf and Heatran.
I do think Specs Pincurchin and Trick Room could be funny.
Could be funny.
It can actually with I think it gets Rising Voltage, which does 140 base power.
I know, I lost to it in a VGC tour when they brought Rising Voltage Rhydon.
Yeah, I've given this a 5.5.
I
I
think
think
that's
it's a
very
solid
fair.
team. I just think running Trick Room as your sole mode, I just think it's too predictable.
I've seen 4, 3.5, 5, 5.5. We don't hate hard Trick Room. This is a 5.5, guys from staff. We don't hate it. Come
Just too
on.
easy to shut down.
It's ridiculous. Oh, Pincurchin doesn't get Rising Voltage? That's so depressing.
It's
That's
not.
actively so depressing.
I thought it did.
We're at Detrevdo with Unknown United, which spells out Unknown United in unknowns. We have Rapid Strike, Pelipper, Rain. Woohoo! No Archaludon. We've
This is
graduated
a
to
little
Rapid
different.
Strike.
I
We
respect this
have
one.
Mono Water with Azumarill, Basculegion, Ludicolo, Inteleon, Worldtutor, Gyarados, Bundle, Luminion, and Quillfish. I mean, it's Mono Water, but I respect it. I really respect the Mono Water, and he actually got some of the best Mono Water mons. Unironically, he got for the Mono Water team, he got the best Water mons on the board.
I think
minus like road
if
and
there was just a
wash.
redirector, then it'd be perfect. I say
Yeah,
perfect. I think it'd be the perfect mono water team.
yeah. Just no
I think
redirection
it's
is
just
very
lacking.
sad. But there's not really much to talk about. It's mono water rain.
I respect it. I think it's a cool team.
I think it's respect though. What do you what rating did you give this?
I give it 6.5.
6.5. Wow. I
It
can't
has.
justify above a 5 for a monotype team. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I rated this
I
like a
just think
5.
I'm ranking it as a mono type team. Like as a mono water type team, it's
Oh,
it got.
as a monotype team, it's amazing. As a draft league team, not quite sure. And yes, the only water redirection is Ogerpon Wellspring. You are correct. But yeah, 5.5, 5. It was exactly a 5. All staff rated it a 5. I think that's actually fair enough. We have JDN with Bond, Destiny Bond. We have our first King Gambit spawning with Thunderous Incarnate, Gengar, Bruxish, Torracat, Superior Colossal, Enamorous Incarnate, Illumise, Pikachu, and Arbok. I think this is a team of island of some misfit toys in Tier 1 and Tier 2 and put them together and try to make a team.
So you have the Bruxish as a Trick Room setter, and you can use King Gambit in Trick Room. You've got the Fake Out Sport. Superior can be fun. And then you do have the Illumise, Enamorous, Thunderous King Gambit. I don't think Thunderous Incarnate is the best call when the Therian one wasn't picked, as far as I'm aware. Because the Therian one is just so much more offensive. But you do have a fast mode and a slow mode. And Contrary on 2 mons is kind of cool. You don't really have anything to support the King Gambit. You can need King Gambit Torracat, but you don't. There's no redirection as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this team overall. Not huge redirection. I'm not a huge Enamorous Incarnate fan. Illumise is nice. I'm interested to see how it works out. I think it's like a mid team. Although I don't think
I agree.
Gecko wants to fate this because Thunderous just sweeps the whole team. But what did you think?
I think I'd give this one a 5.5.
5.5. I've seen 5.5. I've seen 5s in the chat. I've seen 4.5. This team was rated
I do
a
like the
5.
logo though.
Great logo. It was also rated a 5, so same as the Mono Water team. Schmidt's return, finally back to Draft League and playing with the Chicago White Sox. And guys, another staff team. It's not Ogerpon Hearthflame. I promise. Just, it's staff with no Ogerpon Hearthflame, guys. We have Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Abomasnow, Rotom Wash, Articuno, Vivillon, Low-Kicks, Scrafty, Weirder, Girder, and Garchomp.
This is a pretty good team.
Yeah, and also had a banger of a match. If you guys watched this match between this team and another team in Get Town, that was one of the most entertaining matches or sets I think I've ever watched. But I think it's a solid team. Fluttermane's never going to be bad. I think Fluttermane's good. Amoonguss redirection's okay here, but I'm not a huge fan of Amoonguss in draft. Has a little snowboat with Articuno and Abomasnow, which I think is fine because the rest of his team doesn't mind.
I do like that.
Although Garchomp kind
I
of
think it's
hates
the
it.
most valuable weather. You have the Scrafty, the Weirder, the Vivillon. It's a pretty solid team all round.
Yeah. A little weak to Fairy, minus Amoonguss. I think it's decent. Girder's a little awkwardly placed, I think. Maybe changed out for something else, but I think it's solid. What do you have?
Agree. I think I'd give this. I have 7, but I'm 6.57. I'll say 7.
6.5 to 7 sounds about right. I see 6.75, 6.5 to 7 as others. Does the staff tax apply? It's 5.5 from the staff. So no, we've rated this a lot lower than people think. 5.5 from staff. So interesting. Then we have the most confusing logo, the Nintendo guy, that draft team twice. So if you guys want to see the same team twice in a logo and a thing, go right ahead and look at it twice. We have Raging Bolt, Iron Boulder, Slithering, Meowscarada, Empoleon, Gliscor, Frostlass, Alolan Ninetales, Meowstic, Tauros, and Jigglypuff. This match between this and Schmitz was probably one of the funnest matches I've ever seen. It's an interesting team. I don't like Meowscarada. I don't think it makes sense on this team.
I don't like the
Gliscor, I
slithering either.
also don't like. But I think the Ninetales with Aurora Veil is actually okay on this team. Poleon's fine with it. The only problem with Raging Bolt is you almost need to Terra it because it doesn't want to take any ice moves. Meowstic's pretty good here. Tauros, I think, is fine. The Jigglypuff is just troll. But besides that, I think it's an okay team.
I think I've ranked this a 6. It's solid. It's got options, but I don't think it's. I think it's just one of those solid but not good.
I agree, and I think two of
That
the
sort of
Pokemon
range.
I'm keeping the most eye out this season are Raging Bolt, or sorry, Iron Boulder and Gouging Fire. So I'd like to see what happens with them. The only good thing about this is Raging Bolt gets Weather Ball, so you kind of get Bolt Beam as well.
That's true.
I'd get rid of the Gliscor though, and maybe the Jigglypuff. I think overall solid. I see you said 6.5.
That's a 6.
You said 6. I've seen 6s. Staff gave this a 5.25. Staff's rating. Staff does not like this group. I think that's fair to say. We put like a bunch of things in 5s. We have purples, semi-mono water with another mono water team in the group. With Tornadus, Politoed, Kingdra, Hitmontop, Feraligatr, Espeon, Quagsire, Lando, Quaquaval, Wugtrio, okay, and Lantern. What do we think of this mono water minus 3 to 4 Pokemon?
Honestly, I actually don't hate it. Tornadus, Landorus, Hitmontop, and Politoed is actually a solid core. I don't think it's a terrible draft. I just think it's going to get outclassed by a lot of what it plays. Your Swiss Swim abuser is Kingdra.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I think I might prefer the mono water type team. Unironically, I think this is solid with Tornadus, Politoed, Landorus, Double Genies, and Quackable, but Hitmontop. But I just think it's get outrained in rain. And with the Double Genie, you're relying on like manual rain Politoed with Landorus and Tornadus to do a lot of your damage. I could see it snowballing uniquely depending on some of the sets, but I'm just not a huge fan of this team. I'd actually unironically rather have the other mono water type team.
Realistically, I think you could drop Politoed for just a powerhouse of a tier 2 and just have manual rain.
I think I would rather
Just
have like drop Politoed for a good tier 2, maybe drop like 2
like
of
a
the water
Excalibur or
types, and it'd
something.
be a solid team.
Yeah.
The problem is it's mostly water types.
I think I'll give this a 5.
See, a 5. I've seen. Look at up saying Safsol grew 6 and this group went full hater. I'm not going to comment, but I definitely think that's the case here. I see 4.5, 5%, 5.5. Staff coming in with the massive 2.75. Yeah, I think that's a little harsh. I'm not gonna lie, even though I don't like the team, that's
I
definitely
agree.
a little harsh. But I
It has
think
damage.
staff
It
just
has
after seeing
speed
group
control.
6 decided to tone everything down and just give 5s and belows. So I think it's a little harsh. I'll be honest. I think it's like a 3.5, 4 team for me. And then we got Umbi. You're finally getting yours. With Pokeball, I don't know. Is it just Pokeball Durag? That's how I think you responded because it's a Pokeball Durag with the Mew. We have Rillaboom, Primarina, and Volcarona. Great Firewater Grass Core. Corviknight, Electabuzz, Toxicroak, Umbreon, Mismagius, Baxcalibur, Lapras, and Sentret.
I think this team's really solid. Like you said, the Firewall Grass is really strong. Corviknight can set Tailwind, and it can run like
Squirrely, you were
Grassy
supposed to
Seed.
be asleep. Shh. But go ahead.
Volcarona can redirect, set up. Baxcalibur can set up. The Lapras seems a bit out of place because you've already got a good Ice type and a good Water type. Toxicroak can be disruptive. Umbreon is really bulky, but it's not doing too much damage. However, it can support team with Taunt and Snarl. I think this team's really strong.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Let's look it up. That Fletchinger would be nice on this. But I think it's a solid team. I like the Firewater Grasscar with the Volcarona. I think
The
Electabuzz is
Electabuzz as
really
well, I
well
think.
placed here as well. I think that redirection's really nice here for the Quiver Dance. You have Fake Out with Toxicroak as well. Baxcalibur just does a ton of damage. Sentret, I'm not quite sure about. Umbreon, I'm okay with. I'm not a huge fan for it. And maybe sub everything else for Lapras, but I think it's a really solid team with good
I think it's a good
redirection.
team. I've given this a 7.5.
We had 7, 7.5, 7.75, and 8. This team was rated by staff as a 7.75. So it sounds like staff went full hater, realized full hater wasn't great, and then gave a 7.75. I think it's a really solid team, though, like well deserved.
I think it's a good team.
And then we have I want to sleep more. I agree. Every time I go home from work, I wish I could sleep longer and then not go right back. But we have Gouging Fire Clefairy, Bisharp Comfy, Barraskewda Flamigo, Honchkrow Litten, Wellspring, Mienshao, and Fortress. What do we think of this
You
team?
got the Gouging Fire, Wellspring. We were saying coaching, Wellspring scary. How? Is also just as scary. Clefairy's good support. Comfy can just keep the Wellspring healthy. Tailwind Trick Room. Flamigo, if you spam Howl and then lose one of your mons, Flamigo comes in and it takes the Howl boost off whatever's still left.
Yeah. I do think Barraskewda is awkward here.
Yeah.
I think the
But
Barraskewda
to be
and
fair,
Fortress are a little awkward. I don't
the
think you're
Barraskewda,
bringing them.
Sleepmore could have looked at 2 rain teams and just put Barraskewda in the team.
Oh, which I think is very fair. I think it's a fair play to counter team it. But also, special attacking is a yikes. You have Clefairy and Comfy as your special attackers, which is a huge yikes. You need at least something. I think it's like good structure, but I think you could just get rid of Barraskewda for like a special attacker, maybe get rid of Fortress, and maybe some other things. But I think it's solid, but just missing a piece or two.
You can also do Eviolite Bishop with Howl, bring Comfy and heal it. I do think this team, while it doesn't have the strongest special attacking option, this team clearly just wants to go physical anyway. So I still think the team's solid.
What would you give it?
I'd give it a 6.75.
6.75. I see 5.5, 5, 6. A few other. Staff has gone back to 5.75. 5.75. Which means Umby's the clear leader in this group, 7.75, and Purple's at 2.75. Now, we're going to get into Group 8 here. The first thing I'm going to show is we're going to look at these first 2 rounds, and we're just going to look at it real quick. We have Screamtail going pick 1. We have a Gothitelle Snipe. We have a Gothorita, and we have a Gothita in the first 2 rounds. Yeah. This is the story of BP, who has the first overall pick. BP are as well known for playing Paris Trap Rooms, drafting Speed Draft, drafted it last few seasons. So everybody in this group just decided without saying anything, we're not going to let you have it. So they all took, when they just Screamtail to be part of that core, we had Gothorita, Gothita, and Gothitelle all taken, or Gothitelle and Gothorita taken, so it has to use, and Gothita taken, so it just couldn't use Parastrap, which I think is hilarious. So I gotta give I gotta give them credit. But we're gonna start and saying Torrential Pump 2 now has Torkoal Screamtail, Alcremie Galarian, Articuno, Torcat, Executor, Greedent. There's their Gothita they can try and Paratrap with, which it's not going to work. Blood Moon, Grafia, and Cleffa.
This is like, I think it's Friendship and Good Pals in Group 6, I think, who drafted basically what PP wanted to draft.
Mm-hmm.
This is just kind of a worse version, and they've kind of tried to salvage it by going for this Trick Room mode. I think obviously the team's still got Screamtail, Executor, and honestly, I do feel for them. I think the team still looks pretty solid, but obviously they did suffer as a result of those snipes.
I feel bad, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. Still could work. I think maybe another Sun Abuser to help out. Drop this Cleffa. But I think it actually can work though. I mean, it's not a strong team in my opinion, but it could be a decent team.
Yeah. So I've given this 5.5.
5.5 is the rating. I've seen 5. And
Cleffa also doesn't get Follow Me.
Yeah. Oh, so that's an extra F. Staff has gone back to Hater Arc and rated it a 4. So just flat 4. We're now going to finally, I know you're in the chat, we're going to get to Look It Up's team, a former champion here with the Walrein Supreme. It seems like another former champion is going for the Gouging Fire. We have Metagross, Mimikyu, Porygon Z again, Serperior, Toxicroak, Toucannon, great Pokemon by the way, a ton of fun. Electabuzz, Sableye, Sudowoodo, and Arachnid. They have a fire, water, grass core, I guess. It's not the strongest, and I wouldn't consider a huge core. Gouging Metagross is interesting. Has a Trick Room mode with that Metagross Mimikyu and a slower gouging. Sableye can be pretty annoying and has direction with Electabuzz. I'm interested to see how they play this team. I think it could lack a little bit of versatility under Tailwind and a little bit of damage depending on which way they roll it. But I think it's like some solid Mons.
So if this was probably like anyone else's team, I still think it's solid. But because it's Look It Up's team, this scares me. There is a lot of tech they have here. They have Howl into Metagross that can't be intimidated. You can run AV Metagross and just Howl it up, and then you could run Mimikyu in as speed control. Or Toxicroak I think he gets coaching. You do fake out stuff. I'm really excited to see how they pilot it because they won the league 2 years in a row, and the last time we played this format went unbeaten. So I think they did put a message in the chat that they're just trying to have a lot of fun, but I'm sure they're still going to want to try and win. And I do think the team looks really solid across the board, and I'm excited to see what they do with it.
I agree. I think they'll have a lot of fun with it. What would you rank this team?
I think I would give it a 7, but I will do a 7.5 just because it is Look It Up.
I think I agree with the 7, actually. I think it's really solid. I think it's a fun team, but I think it can be really solid. It has its flaws, but I think it's solid. Staff has actually also rated this a 6.75. So I think Staff thinks it's going to be a pretty solid team as well. Next, we have How's Your Day 101. Going pretty good. I have a California Baneful Brawlers here. The cool shiny Hisuian Zoroark. We have Ogerpon Wellspring, Porygon 2, Slowbro Galar, Corviknight, Jumpluff with no sun. Well, with sun with Whimsicott, but not direct sun. Feraligatr, Quillfish Hisui, Whimsicott, Kingdra, Scraggy, and the fish that made me go 0-11. What do you think?
I think this team is one of the weaker teams. You have Kingdra without Rain, and then you have Fraligator and Wellspring.
I think it has an identity crisis.
Whimsicott, Jumpluff also having an identity crisis. Scraggy is good, but there's nothing that's going to benefit from coaching other than Corviknight in Trick Room.
Yeah, I think this is.
And then if you set Trick Room up, you've only really got Slowbro to try and abuse it. I think this is probably one of the weaker teams.
I agree. I think it's just a major identity crisis. You have some rain pieces, you have some Trick Room pieces, you have some sun pieces, and you have some support pieces, but you don't have pieces that go together. It seems just like 4 or 5 different things you're trying to do with no plan. I think it's just very awkward. But it has an ogre
I think I'm
pop, so it can
actually.
always do something.
But that literally overlaps with 4 different ones on the team, type-wise.
And as Lucky would say, look at the type chart. I think it has
Yeah, I think
potential. I
this
would
is a
either bank in
free
on
for
the
me.
Trick Room mode or get rid of like Whimsicott or grab some rain tools.
Yeah. So I'm going to rate it 3.
I'm a 3. See, 3 to 4, 3 to 4. The team has rated this a 3.75. So a little nice. Next, we have 67 water in the ice cream cuts. At this point, just name your team 67 water. Like, kind of funny. We have 67 water with Fluttermane, Illumise, Iron Treads, Palafin, Salazzle, Hisuian Bravery, Thwackey, Urshifu Single Strike, Electivire, Sliggoo, and Wishcash. Sliggoo, Hisuian, and Wishcash. I think it's a pretty solid team.
I think it's a very solid team. They did get bailed out by a rock slide miss yesterday, but their team is really strong. Thwackey and Salazzle was one of my original plans as like a budget Rilla Instant, just a fake out cycle. And you have an Illumise who can just do fake to his Tailwind. If you can enable Single Strike and Fluttermane with speed control, you're just gonna nuke stuff.
I think Electivire was a good
Bravian, which
too.
does, yeah, and that's why it can be more like offensive as well. So yesterday, Vital Spirit redirects to Spores as well. Palafin seems a little out of place, but Palafin's Palafin is still strong.
But I think that is like one of the
only
things
dance
out of place. Like I'm not a huge Hisuian Braviary fan, but I think it fits actually pretty well here.
It also just gives them that Trick Room mode. I just think it's the Palafin that's out of place, but overall the team is really solid, and Palafin is still very good Pokemon.
I agree. What would you rate?
If they can get the hero form and set Rain, I think I get it 7.5.
I think that's very fair. I think that would be what I would rate it around. I see a 7 in chat. I see your 7.5. I see a 6.5. Staff has given this a 7.75. Staff is pretty high on this team. I think rightfully so.
And then we have got Wendell.
This is an amazing logo, by the way. Shout out. I don't know who did it, but Wendell, great logo. With the graffiti city speargulls. It's Archaludon with rain. That is Archaludon, Pelipper, Basculegion. Amoonguss again with Archaludon, Basculegion. We have Overcoil as a rain abuser, Oranguru as a trick room setter, Soon Electrode as a fast mon, Gothorita, the best Pokemon in the format. We have Camerupt, Lapras, Tinkaton. What do you think of this team?
So, Amoonguss kind of makes sense because it is good in Trick Room and it can always be supported in that secondary mode. I think if this team had just a better Trick Room sweeper, it'd be one of the better rain teams.
Yeah,
because we saw it yesterday. Wendell drafted been doing this a long time. Used physical Archaludon. You know, like I think they're not afraid to be like. They like are not afraid to just try and veer away from this rain mode.
This is Squirrely.
However, I do think when
made just for Squirrely to give it a 10 because it has camera up and rain.
Yeah, true.
I think just.
But I think if they just had a Trick Room sweeper
this would be an amazing team. I think it's
I would
already
drop the
solid.
Overquill because the Overquill is just another rain abuser. When in reality, I think less is more,
Well,
and
you
you
also
could
have a Rankaroo
try
and
and
Gothita kind of serving the same role, so you could drop one of them. I think dropping
yeah. And I think if
Gothita
you
for
just
a
get
tier
something
4
that's
Trick Room Sweeper would be overall nice, and drop the camera ups. But I think camera up actually is
yeah,
okay with the team. I just think maybe draft like
it
either
gets eruption,
Gothita or
and
Rangaroo for a Trick Room Sweeper, and it'd be a
this is
really good
also
team.
it also gets Howl. So you could like if you want to go physical or Chaladon, you could just start using Howl on camera up in Trick Room.
Mhm.
It's really niche, but you can do it. But no, I actually think this is one of the rain teams I prefer.
I think it doesn't have to
I
rely
think
on
less is
rain,
more.
so I'd prefer it.
Yeah, I think you just need Archaladon, Pelipper, Basculegion, and that's it. Then don't make the rest of your team about rain.
I agree. I think this is a very good execution of it. And Squirrely camera up is a good mon for tier 5.
I think I'm giving this a 7.
I think 7's very fair. I think 7's a good rating for this team. I don't know what I rated it. I want to check actually. Kind of want to check what I rated it. I rated it a 6. I think I should have rated it a 7. But we have 6.75 as the total for this. Maybe a little low, but I think it's very solid. Next, we have Cairo 8254 with the Chicago Sharp Charizards. We have Ensign Gothitelle. There's where the Gothitelle went. Gengar, Gyarados, Articuno. So we do have technically a Paratrap core. Well, no, Gengar doesn't get it. It's not Mega. Gyarados, Articuno, Charizard. 3 interesting. We have the we have the snow mode with the Ninetales Articuno. Charizard's here again in snow or rain. It shows up. Bayleaf, not a real Pokemon. Venusaur and Sandslash Alola. So a pretty heavy snow mode.
I think the Sandslash is just not needed. I think, like I said, when you want to use weather, less is more. Because then your whole team's not surrounded, like based around it. And Ninetales Articuno is really strong. The Charizard is a little out of place, but you have the Venusaur as well, so I'm not too sure why they're there. And they do seem to want to run a Perish mode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Incineroar as a tier 1 is the. I think you'd want to do some something that can do some damage, because that way, you want to lower their opposing count to perish them.
I guess technically Dugong has Parasong, chat pointed out. And also Pirate's pointing out minus like Gothitelle Ensign, this is like Gen 1 gang. If you count like the base forms. That's like Bailey, you have like a lot of Gen 1 gang. Yeah. I
guess
agree you
Dugong
don't
is
need the
snow.
Sandslash Alola, but I don't know what exactly to put on this team. But I think overall it knows what it wants to do, which I think is a good thing. It might not be as flexible. I think Insane's actually a really good Perish tool use. I think that's why they drafted. I think they're leaning into the Perish mode. That Insane's a good draft for it. But overall, I think it's an okay team. I wouldn't call it super solid. In my opinion.
I think it is
But
one
I'm
of the.
interested to see how it does. Because I think it could do pretty decent.
Yeah. I think this team is. I'd probably give it a 5. I just think
5.
there's not enough firepower to get like. There's not enough. I don't know. I don't think it's strong enough to execute the perish mode as well.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what people think about it. People
I
think
don't
6.75. I'm kind of interested in what people's thoughts are on this one specifically. But Staff has ranked it 3.75 is Staff's choice. So Staff went back to being a bit harsh, I think. I don't know what I give, but I think it was at least a 4. I think with some potential, it does have potential.
I think it does have potential, and if they play well, they can get wins. I just think it's going to be hard to pilot.
I'd like to see some replays to see how well it's played, because I think it could get played really well. Michael 2 here with the Boston Blastoise. We have Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Heatran, Arboliva, Slowking Iron Thorns represent. Morgrove's Anaconda, Tornadus, Incarnate, Scizor, Hisuian and Uplissi.
This team's just, it's pretty solid. If you have Fake Out on Morgrim to help Slowking get Trick Room up, but you also have the Tailwind mode. You can set Rain for Rapid Strike and for Scizor, but then your Heatran suffers.
That's true.
Then you can also set. I think the team's solid. You can set the Sun and Arboliva can harvest, and Heatran can benefit from it. But yeah, I think the team's okay. You can go fast, you can go slow. It has the tools.
I agree. Not the most interesting Firewater Grass score. Tornadus is interesting on this team. I'm wondering how well it's going to do. I like the Rapid Strike. I'm interested to see how Thorns does on the team. Scizor might be a little awkward on the team, but I think it makes some sense. I think it's a decent team. I wouldn't call it amazing, but I think it could be solid. I think it's pretty solid, like overall.
Yeah.
Say like
I think I'd give it
around
like
6.
6.5.
Hold on, I'm answering chat. I did fail to look at the spreadsheet we had. I thought Squirrel gave it a 3. It was SJ. My fault. I did not give it a 3 or a 2. Michael's team, what did you rate it?
6.5.
6.75 staff's decision. 6.75.
Cool. And then we got the last team.
With, I believe, me and Arrow in particular rating it a 6. Or it's me and Lucky. And we are on the last team, Talon. I'm sorry that you're last, but we have Talon's River City Riverboons. Thank you guys for sticking around. We have Rillaboom Sneasler as our last team. We have Regigigas Wheezing, throwback to near the very beginning, Rotomo and Teleon, a Flygon, an Iron Jugulus, which is a unique pick we haven't seen yet, a Comfey, a Pavilion, and a Ditto. What do we think?
The Rotom Mo seems a bit out of place because you got Rillaboom. I like Rillaboom Sneasler. You could do like Sneasler coaching into Regigigas and then switch Wheezing in.
Yeah, I think that's pretty strong.
I think if there's a fire type over Rotom, they'd have the Fire Water Grass. Jugulus is cool. It's fast Tailwind, can Snarl, can Taunt. Comfy, Trick Room Tailwind, can heal. And then Vivian is Redirection. And then Ditto, I guess, is a bit of a wild card. I don't hate the team. I think there are a few mons that are a little bit out of place. Like I'd say if Rotom was dropped for a fire type, or if Flygon was dropped for a fire type, then
I agree though. I
the
think
team
it's
might have a bit more balance.
pretty solid, just needs a bit more balance. Although, to be fair, Rillaboom kind of likes its ability. So you gotta just play carefully with it. I think you just need to play very carefully around your own Wheezing.
Yeah, I think it seems cool. I think it isn't like it has ways to make Gigas Wheezing a little bit more fresh. You know, Gigas Wheezing usually just wants to be in a lead and go pretty hard or be used in an endgame. But coaching it up and then, waiting for the right moment could be an interesting take. I think the team's solid.
Or would you give it?
I think I'd give it a 6.5.
6.5. Staff has given the last one of the night a 6.25. 6.25. So that's going through all the teams. I'm going to go quickly through the group averages and the top 5 teams. Then we're going to wrap it up for tonight, and then we will. I appreciate everybody coming out. So we're going to start with group averages. The lowest group average comes from Group 7, or the group we were called haters, with 5.313. The second lowest average comes from Group 3 with a 5.456. Then the third lowest average comes from Group 4 with a 5.631. And then we have the middle of the road with 5.719 for Group 8. We have Group 2 with 5.800. We have Group 1 in third with 5.931. And then your top two are Groups 5 and 6. In second place is Group 5 with a 6.344. And I think, which we discussed during the stream, Group 6 being the strongest draft with a 6.594 as the ratings. So those are overall group rankings. So the staff thinks Group 6 and 5 have the strongest drafts. We'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. In the highest draft, we're going to go through the top 5. In first place, totally undeserved and totally biased, it's Arrow with 8.25 being our first place player. Congrats, Arrow. I mean, defending champion kind of makes some sense. In second place, we have Umbi with 7.75, which is a tied second place with Mew Wizard, also on a 7.75. Congrats to you two. You two are tied for second. 2 solid drafts. Well done. In technically fourth place is Forest at 7.600. And then we have tied for fifth. We have C3LLIE, C3 Lily at 7.500, and Pavnik 7 with 7.500. Those are our technically top 5 draft players that we think as a staff have the top 5 drafts. I'm interested in what you guys think for the top 5 drafts, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and that is going to be all for today. So good luck if you haven't played your week 1 battles. Good luck to everybody for your week 1 battles, and good luck during the season. The video will be posted on YouTube, so feel free to discuss throughout the chat what you think we missed. And also leave a comment in the Discord chat, which team is better, me and Arrows. You guys can see and look up for yourself, which team do you think is better, me or Arrows? All right, well, I'm going to sign off for the night. Thank you so much, Dan, for coming on and doing this with me. I appreciate it. It's great having
Good. I've had a lot of fun. And thank you to everyone for sticking about. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
everybody
Good luck,
enjoyed
everyone.
sticking it
We'll see you.
out. Good luck, everyone, and have a great night or morning wherever you may be.